Hey everyone.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I feel bad. I'm still regulating the air conditioning in my apartment, and I was cold.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
First time to have it on this weekend.
Great. I know. Ours is doing okay. Brad, Rachel, Marty. Rachel. Oh, God, I can't stand how they move around. Justine, I'll get you in a sec.
Hey Rachel.
Hi. Hey, David.
Hey Rachel, how are
Good. Trying to stay out of the sun.
you?
My flowers aren't doing very well.
Yeah.
They can't, they can't handle this.
I watered my plants this morning and I was talking to my mom and she's like, you should water them again at night. 97 is very hot.
Yes, it
Right.
is. Okay. I think I got commissioners and staff. And okay, so we can get going. Just move this along. All right, David, are you all set?
Yeah, I have the script up here, um so we shall begin. All right, I am calling to order this meeting of the Boston Landmarks Commission Design Review Committee for June 24, 2025, and it is 4:03 p.m. Present are Commissioners Walker, Orlando, Haney, and myself, Baraducci. You can participate in this hearing by going to our Zoom meeting link posted in our agenda online at zoom.us/j/986-922-00856 or by calling 301-715-8592 and entering meeting ID number 986-922-00856. You can also submit written comments to us via email at blc@boston.gov. So in accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, including the March 28, 2025 amendment extending the suspension of these provisions until June 30, 2027, we're conducting this meeting online to ensure public access to the deliberations of the Landmarks Commission. The public may access this call through telephone and video conferencing. The hearing is being recorded. All conversations between commissioners should be audible to the public in attendance until the hearing has adjourned. At this point, we ask if there's anyone from the media or any elected officials present on the call to identify yourselves now by stating your name, title, and affiliation. Nothing coming through.
No, I don't see anyone.
All right. So let's get into the design review hearing then. For the first item is application 25.0856, and this is Fort Point Channel. And it's regarding install new black metal panel signage portal at existing facade entry with new cover lighting, exterior sconces, and recessed lighting. So if the applicant would introduce yourselves, you can get started.
Excellent,
Rachel,
thank
who
you.
do you think is gonna,
Dennis.
Dennis?
Yeah, looks like he was. Are you ready to go, Dennis?
Oop,
I am
did I
ready.
just lose sound? Can you hear me, Rachel?
Yep, I can hear you.
Oh, okay, great. So it's Dennis?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Dennis Greenwood from Sousa Design Architects. Yeah, it says exterior facade renovation, but the scope is limited to a new kind of entry signage piece. and some exterior sconces and recessed lighting under the existing arcade. So I'm going to skip through and kind of jump into some existing photos and then walk you through the proposed.
Okay.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, so if you can slide down to the fourth slide right here. Perfect. Thank you. Back one.
Mhm.
All right, so here's the existing entryway. The building's relatively unique on Summer Street in that it actually, all the storefront is pushed back off of the street. So none of the glazing of the storefront directly abuts the sidewalk. There is what's essentially a covered arcade along the front of the building. So our entry is recessed, as well as the two retail tenants that flank the entry. So what we're looking to do is kind of accentuate that entry piece. So in the upper left, you see what's really the existing path of travel, what would be the entryway, and where the 268 number is above kind of the two entry doors, but that is recessed, about 25 feet. So it is a bit hard to see. There is to the left of the building, some existing numbers, 268, which you see on that photo in the upper right. But again, that's not centered by the entry. It's actually kind of more in front of a tenant retail space than it is in front of where you'd actually access the building entry. So now if we can go down to the next slide.
Mhm. Here.
So here's just the building, step back a little bit further. So what we're looking to do, again, on that lower left, you can see the 268 kind of sunken back. What you're going to see coming up, we'll show you an elevation and a detail and a little street rendering of what's essentially a portal, is what we're calling it. And it's a 9.5-inch wide band that's going to go up around that kind of punched entry, use a aluminum composite metal panel that has the number 268 punched out of it, and it's backlit to accentuate that entry piece. Next slide, please. And so here you have the plan. So the lower plan is the construction plan. You can see shaded in gray is what's essentially a horizontal cut plan view of that entry portal. So it is just a couple inches deeper than the existing pilaster, so that we can just get it to punch out and accentuate that entry. And it's 9.5 inches wide that wraps up vertically and around on the underside of the existing soffit. Next slide, please. Thank you. And then we have the specifications here. We have SC3 is on the exterior of the building. The photo that you see has kind of a wide beam spread angle, but really we would be using a narrower beam spread angle, the 3% beam angle that's going to go on the exterior pilasters. So we thought that since the building is so close to the sidewalk, and there's a tremendous amount of verticality in the building, having these little sconces that provide a little accent lighting up and down on the pilasters to accentuate the building itself provided a little bit of an accent to the building, as well as kind of a nod to the verticality of the facade. Next slide, please. You know what, we can jump into maybe the. All right, so here's a blow up of kind of the entry portal. So starting kind of on the far right, this is what you'd be seeing as you walked through that entry portal. So the 268 is cut out of it. And really all it is it's kind of a aluminum composite metal signage piece, a box that's, again, goes around the entire entry piece into that arcade at 268 Summer Street. There is also one small piece on the front face, a little recessed linear cove light with a frosted acrylic cover lens that would diffuse the light that faces Summer Street as well. So just a kind of contemporary piece to accentuate that punched opening. Next slide, please. And so here's a colored elevation, a rendered elevation where you can see, again, right around that 268, you can see how there's the portal that goes up and around. It, maintains the geometry of the building. We had studied a few different options, originally looked at creating a large canopy piece that came out over the sidewalk, which is kind of typical of some of the neighboring buildings on the side of the street as well. But again, that was more a condition where they had storefront directly abutting the sidewalk. The other concern here was that having a canopy, really the only place you'd have it where it made sense would be to align it with that datum between that that large first floor and the second floor, which covered up some of the architectural elements and also didn't really align well with the datum of the canopies to the left and to the right of our facade. So that's why we went with this more kind of subtle piece. Yep, and here you can see the rendering. A little more subtle piece that kind of, again, punches the entry, gives good wayfinding, and some branding identity to the building itself. And then in that upper right, you can see that piece that's that sconce, pretty minimal sconce, just a little black box that shines just up and down with a narrow beam spread. And so with that, I would open it up to any questions.
Okay. So Rachel, do you want to summarize your staff comments at all?
Sure. If
Do you
that's,
want me to?
Mhm.
I can do that if that's
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure. So, staff recommends approval with provisos regarding the exterior sconces and recessed lighting. We'd like to see a detail submitted to staff showing the sconces installed into the mortar joints only to avoid damage to the building's historic fabric. And then, as required by the standards and criteria for the district, we would like a mock-up of the proposed accent lighting. And we suggest that that is remanded to staff. Staff did recommend denial without prejudice regarding the black metal panel signage portal at the existing facade with new cover lighting, because as stated under Section D of the standards and criteria for the district, contributing entrance materials, elements, and features shall not be sheathed or otherwise obscured by other materials. Staff found that the proposed portal sheaths the interior of the existing column or pilaster, as well as generates a lit border, which further obscures. When viewed from the front, the proposed portal and lighting also interrupts the cadence of the existing masonry columns / pilasters, altering one of the key character-defining features of the building, and this portion of the street wall along Summer Street.
Great. Okay. So David, you can call on commissioners.
Yes. Yeah. All right. I just do have a question I wanted to ask the applicant. This portal, so it's going to be along the inside edges, the top and the two sides. Are you coming out of on the outside of the facade and then sort of, having this sort of frame that will be on the exterior of this facade, or is it all flush?
Yeah, so the plan was to have it proud, probably just about half an inch or so, just because meeting materials dead straight on is always a little bit difficult. But we could, we're kind of open to that conversation. So happy to hear your thoughts on that.
All right, and then the
Doesn't your drawing show it proud like 2.5 inches? You actually have a detail of that drawing
Yeah.
in the upper left.
Yeah, it's of this.
oh, I see.
Yeah. But I think the base of the building sticks out a little bit as well. So yeah, you're right. It's 3.5 at kind of at its
3.5
at its deepest point. Yes.
Mhm. All right. So I think I agree with staff's comments on this. I think this is it does sort of violate the guidelines somewhat. And I'm not, especially, I don't really like I don't think that this sort of lit frame around that is also, it's going to be something that does disrupt the sort of continuity of these recessed bays. So I'll like to hear what other commissioners would have to say about this. We have Walker, Orlando, or Haney.
I'll jump in if that's okay, David.
Sure, yes.
Would you mind scrolling back a few images? I'd like to understand the edge condition of the brick, which I think you had earlier in the presentation. Did you have an image of the brick with the plaster liner?
Yeah, so right there.
So we do see in current conditions sort of, the thickness of the brick, 4 inches of brick, and then a white plaster liner, let's say.
I think it's parged. That's always been my reading of it. Am I wrong? Maybe.
It could be parched, it could be,
Yeah.
yeah, something smooth in masonry.
Yeah.
I think if you were to propose to line this entry with something other than white something, because the liner of this is not originally intended to be exposed, there would have been a window frame at that line. I think you could propose to line it with something actually that would be more in keeping with the building than white plaster, including possibly black metal or dark bronze metal. But if you were to do that, I think you need to not just pick this one opening, but do it to all of them. And I think it should be, it should continue to reveal the thickness of the brick at the street front. And I don't think it should have thickness of its own other than its own materiality. So if it's a 1/2 inch thick piece of steel or something like we see up and down the block in a couple of other places, I'd be okay with that. I concur with others that the lighting around the portal is a lot, and I think out of keeping with what's going on in the district. I feel like the street numbering is aggressive. So I would be inclined to just offer those comments, but also deny without prejudice on that part. On your rendering right there, are you proposing lighting above the cornice as well that you didn't mention, or does that already exist?
No, we're not proposing any lighting above the cornice.
And
At
that
one
doesn't-
point we had talked about doing that, but
Okay, so that's in this
we're not
rendering, but
doing
it's
that.
not part of your proposal.
No.
Okay, I
Just
think that those would be my comments.
Yeah, okay. Quick question on this, these lights here. They really are going to just serve as this, creating this sort of skinny sliver of a almost of an accent strip, so to speak. It's not intended to do anything to enhance or light up any architectural feature, really, it seems. I mean, I guess I can see, I'm just trying to envision it at night, it'll be these sort of long, like I said, vertical slots of light. I see the one in the middle, especially, I don't want it to do anything strange to that medallion. I would hope that the light that hits the medallion is going to be appropriate to lighting it rather than just having a slice of light go across it. So, and I concur with Brad about the idea, if you're going to do any kind of metal lining, it should be recessed back so that the return of the brick is expressed rather than covered up. And if can we go back to the one that shows all of the bays? I think there's 4. Is that total here that you've got? Yeah.
Yes.
And are these planters existing that are in front of these other bays now, or are you putting those in?
Those would be recessed back further in front of the tenant spaces. So not right along the street. That's something that we're hoping to give the option for the future tenants to do. Those spaces aren't filled yet.
All right. So then you were proposing to have the numbers punched out on the side of this one entrance only. You are still going to have the number over the door that I see here. Is that correct? So if we don't do the punched numbers on the side panels, there'll still be a number to identify the building.
Correct. And again, this building is a little unique in how set back the entry is. So, we did want to keep some, some building identity closer to the street.
Right. All right. So, Commissioner Orlando or Haney, do you have comments you want to make on this?
Just real quick, I agree with both you and Commissioner Walker, especially on the lighted perimeter. As we were just talking about the number and the building number and how far back it's set, if there is if the numbering on the front left column is removed, I would just double check with fire department to make sure that they're comfortable with only that, significantly recessed building identification. If the existing is going to be removed. Brad, when you were mentioning, only using the thickness of, a metal cladding or the material itself, thickness around on that cladding, I think that in itself would almost eliminate the opportunity for the punched lit numbering, right? Because that wouldn't give that depth. So I think almost keeping the material to its own thickness would eliminate those numbers, right? Essentially.
I
I'm
think
I'm open to ideas about how to
Yeah.
do numbering. I think this is awfully big. It could just be horizontal and smaller. And I was also curious if they're going to come back to us at some point with tenant signage, because that really probably should be included as this thought.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Sure. Yeah, but otherwise I agree with the comments that have been made.
Yes, I agree. And I think since this looks like it probably would be a deny without prejudice, I mean, you can come back with other ideas on how this sort of metal would be adhered to the facade. I mean, it could even be something where there are metal panels that are sort of recessed away from the brick. So there's a breathable space by an inch or something all the way around it. So it isn't it actually touching and adhering to the brick. And that way that might give you some breathing space to put the punch numbers through for the number of the building, the address. So we just would need to see all that in terms of how it would work out detail wise.
Jeff, you have your hand up. Do you
Yes.
want to?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
I think it's paramount that the brick turns the corners on all these piers. So I think the metal has to push back that probably 4 or 5 inches of the brick wide thickness. I don't mind the thickness of the portal at the main front door. I think it has sort of a weight to it that's good. The other portals could have just a sheet metal, pretty much almost at the same plane or an inch away from the pier itself. The planter though, the planter on the far right, is that constricting the accessible entrance ramp onto this podium, even if it's pushed back?
I can double check the width of that. We certainly
Okay,
wouldn't,
all right.
we won't propose anything that's going to block
All right. And
accessible
then
entry for sure.
the sconces I think are pretty cool. I'm wondering if they should drop down one band width though, rather than having them way up high. My gut tells me they should just be down drop one down, one brick panel down. That's just my own personal preference, I think. I'm trying to remember. I think there are recessed can lights in the current plaster soffit now, right? Are those going to be staying
Correct.
in this?
The idea was to replace them in kind. So right now there's the large kind of
Right.
outdated, 8 or 10 inch cans with
Okay.
aluminum trim. So
All right.
just smaller or replaced in the same spot.
Okay. Do you think there's enough lighting at the steps at the entry at all of those entry points?
That's a great question.
So I used to live next door to the building, and I remember it being sort of dark, and actually homeless people were camping out in this little this little zone, this no man's land.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or maybe there's a step light that occurs down low. I'm not sure if that fits the landmark criteria. But my gut tells me at nighttime there are street lights out there, but I think it may be a little bit dark, especially at this photograph right here in the middle.
Mm.
All right, that's all I
All
got.
right. Thank you, Jeff. I have a question on the planters here. Given this photo here, where in relationship to those steps are you planning to show, or are the planters? Are they going to be on outside of the facade of the building, or are they going to be recessed under the overhang of the building?
They're intended to be recessed,
All right.
like back right in front of the tenant storefront.
All right. So you do recognize though that means they're not going to get any water. So it's going to be completely reliant on
Maintained by, yeah.
artificial watering. Yes. So I'd hate to have to see these planters be there and then have dead plants in them. So that is something that you need to be watchful of. And there is that one entry that is accessible. Is that the far right? Is that what we're?
Yes, there's one where it the stone is carved down to be a accessible entry.
It is. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So if that's it for the commissioners, we can open it up to public comment. Okay, so members of the public will now have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on the proposed presentation. Comments will be timed by staff and limited to 2 minutes. Please do not repeat comments that have already been made by others. So to offer a comment, please raise your hand via the Zoom meeting platform. If you're calling in and cannot use the platform, you can press *9 to raise your hand, or you can send your comments to staff via email at blc@boston.gov.
I don't see any hands
No hands,
lining up.
no neighborhood people. Okay.
And it sounds, David, like the motion would be a denial without prejudice.
It seems like, I mean, I haven't heard specifically from the other commissioners, but it sounded like that would be where we would go with it, which would then allow the applicant to come back, with a refined presentation based on our comments. So with that said, and since there are no public comments, we'll close the public comment period, and I will entertain a motion by one of the commissioners.
So we're gonna do the motions at the 6 o'clock, but I just wanted
Oh,
to
that's right. I'm sorry.
remember what they are.
You're right. So for the full commission,
Yeah.
we will make the recommendation then that it be designed with or without prejudice. So, all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And if the person who's going to speak for the next application could raise their hand, that would be great.
Okay, so the next application is number 25.0935, and this is again 4-point channel, and it's 15 Channel Center Street, and it's regarding removal of existing granite curb to allow entrance to be flush with the street level to allow for accessible entrance, installation of new entry doors, and widen opening. So again, the applicant is present. If you can introduce yourselves and get started.
Good afternoon, Commissioner, Rachel, staff. My name is Drew Motta, representing the Boston Lyric Opera on some work we're looking to do at their new rehearsal and presentation space at 15 Channel Center Street. So the map you're looking at now will kind of provide you the neighborhood context of where we are. And then if we can go to the next slide, this is the current conditions within the space. So we are looking to adjust the doors on the right underneath the black awning to match the existing doors that are on the left underneath the yellow colored awning. And we see a couple of reasons to be able to really be able to do that. Behind those doors that we're looking to change, we're putting in an elevator to provide for ADA accessibility into the upper level and the lower level presentation and rehearsal space. A lot of the opera guests are on the older side, and really access is super important to the group. So the current conditions have a plinth there that prevents wheelchairs from rolling in, and the doors are too narrow rather, for immediate access, and they can't be put onto an actuator. So if you can slide to the next slide, that would be an elevation of the existing. And then the next one after that. So we're looking to maintain the awning that is there existing. We're not looking to change any of the other existing doors into the space. looking to, again, just change out those doors and to remove the granite curb to allow easier access into the space. So if you can go to the next, we can see a detail of that door. And then the next, it just shows the plinth we're looking to remove and the doors to change. And then we've got a picture there where we've transposed the doors in the main midway building entrance into that same location. And our intent is to keep the same color and same feel for the space.
Okay.
And we have a couple of additional renderings, the existing.
So the doors on the left side, those are also being changed?
No, those are not.
Okay, so they currently are, we'll see, okay, they're full glass doors, I see, okay. It was just a reflection of the pavement that I'm seeing there.
Yep. So the ones with the previous tenant had some signage on those doors. Those are to remain as they are.
All right, I didn't mean to interrupt your presentation. Was that it, or did you have more?
That's pretty much it.
Okay.
So we have some other kind of context in the street of similar doors if the commission is interested.
That's great. And I'm just going to have Rachel summarize the staff comments.
Sure. So staff recommends approval with provisos regarding the removal of the existing granite curb to allow the entrance to be flush with the street level to allow for the accessible entrance. Under section K, accessibility of the standards and criteria for the district. Modifications to some features may be allowed in providing access. As such, we recommend approval with provisos that the existing granite curb, basically whatever they remove, is stored on site, allowing for future reversibility of the modification if needed. I will say that when I wrote the staff comment, I didn't realize that they needed to remove the existing door and frame in order to have elevator access. Which is why my staff comment is to deny that without prejudice. I think that's something the commissioners could take into consideration. But I will say that the existing door is in the style of the double leaf paneled wood doors of the district. The door is wood. I would perhaps encourage a proviso where the new doors are made to better reflect the historic doors in the district. And then staff would also like to say that I looked into approvals for the existing contemporary doors at 15 Channel Center Street. And I think that took place before the district. And then I could not find approvals for, and then for 9 Channel Center Street, it basically, that particular one had an approval, but they basically agreed to the change, even though they would have preferred if the original door was kept. So just some context for those different contemporary doors in the district.
Okay, great. So on these doors that you were proposing to change, it looks like there's quite a bit of additional width on the sides of the double door. So you need to increase the width of each of the doors. Is that so that they would then meet the current code?
That's correct. They're a little bit under 30 inches now, and we're bringing them up to 36.
Each one would be 36.
Yes.
All right. Well, yeah, I mean, I do agree. I saw these doors and I thought that I don't know if they're actually original or if they were, new doors made to look like the originals, but they certainly are in keeping with what we've seen throughout the district for doors that would have been original, where usually there's a top panel of glass and then the bottom panel is not glass. So I would agree with staff's comments on that, that they remain in this style, but just you do what you need to do, because you're also going to have to increase, I'm guessing, the length too, or unless you bring the whole door down and have something, across the top that takes up that additional height of the curb that you're removing. And is that is a curve that goes across the whole opening. I think it's probably more than a curve. It's more like I would think a step of some kind.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that we usually do ask that somehow be salvaged, so that if there was to be put back at some other later point in time, that could be done. So, all right, so I'll open it up to the other commissioners and see what their thoughts are.
Justine?
I am sorry, I was having a few audio issues there. I'm not sure, David, if you already said this, but
Go ahead.
is there any way that this, the granite, that's being removed for salvage, is there any chance that that could just be recessed?
Oh, that's
Is
interesting.
that what you just said, David? I'm
No,
so
but I
sorry
think
if
that's
I'm
a good
reading.
idea. If it could be pushed down, you're saying flush with the
Mhm.
sidewalk.
Just
right?
drop it down.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
so that way there's still,
Yeah.
and to be honest, even if we ask them to store this large granite slab somewhere on the property,
I get that.
not sure how easily that's going to be moved inside or to
Mhm.
a back alley somewhere, and
Mhm.
that's probably the safest way to salvage is just to lower it if possible.
Yeah.
Are you in plan, are you also bringing the door forward? Or is it staying in the same plane?
Staying in the same plane.
Okay, so we would see that step if we dropped it.
Yes.
That-
See
That's
the
interesting.
top surface of it, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
No, that's actually an excellent suggestion. We've done that actually now that I think about it for other entries that had a similar
Mhm.
design where we pushed it because you're going to have to put something in place of it anyway, and it probably
Mhm.
will be, granite of some kind. So if it's possible to just lower that whole thing,
Mhm.
that would make perfect sense. So,
Great.
Right, I like that idea.
Any other commissioner comments? No one?
Jeff, you're okay? So,
Yep, you hit all the good points. It's pretty simple.
Okay.
okay, so let's open it up for public comment. Mm. Oh, yes, okay. So members of the public are going to have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on the proposed application. Comments will be timed by the staff for 2 minutes. Please don't repeat the comments by others once they have been made. And to offer a comment, please raise your hand via the Zoom meeting platform. If you're calling in and cannot use the platform, you can press *9 to raise your hand, or you can send your questions to staff via email at blc@boston.gov. And I see Sarah McCammond. You want to make a comment?
Very good.
Good afternoon, commissioners. My name is Hammond. I am a resident of Fort Point, and I did just want to say that I spoke with a director on the board at Midway, and they are very supportive of BLO and are looking forward to seeing these plans for their approval as well. So I want to also say I love the idea of the recessed granite plinth. I was concerned in terms of how with flooding in the district, making sure that the sidewalk and the doors were sealed on front of the main midway doors, which again, as the commission noted, were done before it became an historic district. There is some pavers that were put down to sort of help meet that threshold when that adjustment was made. You can see them light green in that picture.
Mhm, mhm.
And then let's see, just wanted to point out that the black canopy was put in without landmark approval by the previous tenant. And so that's something that just needs to get authorized by the commission in terms of any ongoing signage, or if it's going to just have the everybody fights that has been removed from this image that goes across the canopy bottom. So anyway, just wanted to kind of highlight that, as well as the original doors that are staying in between the main doors and the proposed new door that was an advertisement for a physical therapy place. Again, also didn't go through appropriate landmark approval, and it would be great to see that be removed as well. as we make changes to this space and make it ready for the BLO and community performances.
Do you
I-
mean the awning all the way to the left of this photograph?
Not the 15 yellow one, but the black one.
Yeah, okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks, Chelsea, for clarification. Sometimes I am not as clear because it's in my
No,
head.
no, you were. My fault.
All right, thank you, Sarah. Any other comments?
I think that was the main ones for me. Thank you.
Okay.
Just a clarification for me to Sarah. I mean, this application doesn't include anything about this awning. If you'd like to change the awning, which I think we would probably appreciate, please come back.
Mhm.
We will. We don't think we're quite ready with an idea for that yet.
Yeah. Yes, since it's an existing condition, yeah, it's if you want to make a change, it would be a separate proposal. So one question I had here, these doors now are going to are you going to have I don't know what you call it, some kind of push button thing to open the door, or any automatic openers and things like that that will need to be a part of the hardware on this door now?
Yes, there will be. And I don't think we didn't show that on the rendering, but we'd be looking to mount that.
You've got enough room on the sides of the doors to do that. You don't have to do anything separate from the door itself.
I don't think so. I apologize. I don't know the plan for the
Okay.
position of that,
Okay.
but I would think they can probably get it on the side there.
Okay. Yeah, that looks like they'll should be a decent, well, just about enough room, I would think. Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. So if that's it for public comment and the commissioners don't have any other thoughts, then we will recommend to the full commission to accept it with the proviso that that you maintain that. Well, actually, let me ask you this though. If we now, given what we said, you won't be able to use that same door, obviously, but you will, it's a possibility then of having to make a new one that is in the same design style.
We'll need to kick it out to our architect to see what they can find that looks similar.
Similar to it, yeah. Okay. All right. So that's what we will recommend then to the full commission.
And David, would those details be remanded to staff,
Yes, any further detailing on that? Yes, we'd go to
including the hardware buttons and things like
anything for the accessibility hardware, exactly. So
And lowering the
that?
grade.
Lowering
and
step.
then how you're going to manage that, because you're going to obviously have to cut the sides of it to lower it. And yes, so
Great.
all right.
Great. Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we have 2 down. I'm just going to remind commissioners that we have
You got a lot.
4 more to go.
So
You're doing great so far. But we'll get into the next
Yeah.
one. If commissioners can just make sure not to repeat other people's comments that have already been made, and just kind of keep us going at a good clip.
Okay, so here we go. This is now application 25.0973, Boston City Hall, 1 City Hall Square, and this is the 4th floor terrace in South Plaza. It's regarding waterproofing upgrades, skylight updates, and accessibility improvements primary to the Boston City Hall 4th floor terrace. Work presented will also include waterproofing updates or upgrades, structural repairs, and accessibility improvements at the Boston City Hall South Plaza area.
Great.
We have somebody's hand here raised. I
Yep.
don't know.
That's Maurizio.
Oh,
You
okay.
should be able to
So-
turn on your video and unmute if I've done it right. Let me know.
That works. Actually, Chelsea, is it possible to share my screen or you have to run
I'm just gonna
that,
keep it just because we can keep moving quickly if
Okay.
we keep it
Sure.
to mine. But if there's something you have to add, we can pull it up.
Okay, because we did add a couple slides, we can bring it up later. So this is to address modifications at the 4th floor terrace and at the South Plaza of Boston City Hall. We've heard now comments and gotten feedback from the 527 advisory meeting. So we're going to be focused only on this meeting on particular items that were brought up at that meeting and separating it out into 4th floor and South Plaza areas. Next slide. So on the 4th floor, just a quick outline of what we heard. I'm not going to go into it in full detail because we identify each one of these comments within there, but this is just to say that the comments were really focused around these 5 key areas: the central skylight, gridded skylights, the ramps, the mezzanine, and the west terrace area. So next slide. Just to give some context again for reference, the existing conditions, this shows where those 5 different areas are. When we talk about those different features, they're located, central skylight, the gridded skylights, and the other features, and where they're located in reference to the overall 4th floor terrace area. On the next slide, you can see those same areas in context. Again, with the proposed modifications for those spaces that we outlined at the advisory meeting, but now we're going to jump into specific comments that were made about each one of those areas. One thing we did do in this next round of presentations is added reference to the conservation management plan for each one of them, just to give some reference and feedback and context to why some of the changes were either being proposed or proposed now in context with some of the recommendations maybe that were made in the conservation management plan. Not going to go into in full detail again here, but it's just provided here as reference going forward. On the next one. So the central skylight, the comments were really focused around understanding a little bit more about the drainage and the details, both at the upper edge of the central skylight and at the bench. We're proposing adding a precast bench similar to the proposed existing conditions, but that was never installed at the end of the day in the final project. But in order to maintain drainage under that, by bringing that back to that bench, we're adding, just essentially lifting it up, allowing water to drain underneath the bench, but over the waterproofing and the metal cladding that would be located there. At the top of the skylight, providing really a flush condition now that would, instead of, in lieu of a scupper, we looked at that detail again, we were able to provide a flush condition across the top of the skylight, allowing drainage to then pass from the top down the sides underneath the bench, and out would be new drains inserted in the main upper plaza area. So that's to focus on that comment. And then specifically, there was the other question about a little bit more detail about the skylight materials. These would all be both at the central skylight, gridded skylight, looking at using flush walkable skylight systems with a thicker glass, structural glass that at the central skylight, really one uniform piece or 2 uniform pieces, still looking at the details of that. Really with as much light penetration as possible, but enough grit or texture on it in the event that somebody for maintenance does get up there, it's a non-slip surface. For the next one. At the gridded skylights, again, context from the conservation management plan about the background on it, as well as the rationale for the changes. And in this case, we're proposing to, on the next slide, make a flush condition for the gridded skylights that was illustrated at the advisory committee meeting. And in this case, the comments and feedback were about how to actually recreate the grid in a more effective way. And so looking at many different options, we've determined that by making the flush condition, or by making the skylights flush to grade, and really accentuating and bringing forward that structural frame that holds up these walkable gridded skylights, would really accentuate that grid in the strongest manner. And so what this is showing here is a nighttime and daytime condition that helps understand how that grid is still harkened back to in the floor plan. And at night, it would even allow for act as sort of a beacon where now more light comes up through the bases of it. By putting the skylights down too, it allows actually more daylight to enter into the 2nd floor lobby space. Next slide. And this is just to explain how, just to give some visuals as to what the impact was by lowering the skylight. It keeps the main intent of the skylights from the second floor lobby intact, but still provides even more daylight and more exposure, especially when you're under the hood, which is located right here on the right-hand side. You can see the difference, especially when you get further over on the photo's right side there too. Next slide. And again, the other question was about the skylight materials. Same materiality, it would be a structural gridded system, except in this case on the gridded skylights, it needs interior mullions to be able to hold up the entire structural frame. So those mullions or structural framing system elements are what would be then legible as what was the old grid format. In this case, adding even more texture to the gridded skylights just for modesty purposes, because again, it would be very visible from the second story, unlike the central skylight. Next one. Then on the ramps, again, the reference and context from the conservation management plan on the next slide. And then in this case, we're looking at different materials and differentiation to identify the changes in added materials. And so making those clearly different than the materials that were used before. So in this case, looking at how to differentiate new walls from the existing concrete walls after studying numerous options, focused on using something similar that was done for the new pavilion in phase 1 of Boston City Hall Plaza, where the granite cladding accentuates really the vertical faces. And then for the barrier edge, using that same guardrail feature that we used at the top of the pavilion to carry a lot of the same elements, all bronze and the granite. So now there's continuity of expression and materials to really gesture what is new from the original existing condition. Next slide. Here too, there was a comment about looking at how do you acknowledge some of the old walls. And so the old wall that would be taken down in this upper terrace area, there was discussion about, do we reference it back with an allusion to it as a flush band of concrete paving to be able to allow more flexible seating, or actually introduce a bench condition that would be in that same designation or linear line as the old original wall, but providing some seating elements. However, in going back to on the next one, there was also discussion with the Disabilities Commission about some of this condition. And one thing that they were partial to and actually more interested in was using a continuity of brick throughout the area. And in this case, it may be hard to read it, maybe in that, sorry, from this side, but where in lieu of using the concrete, which a concern was about having some kind of visual designation suggesting that something is different, we would be alluding to the same location, but with the brick in a slightly different pattern or format, to be able to use all the same material at the ground planes so as not to disrupt sort of the visual continuity of the ground and not create any other distractions from a visual condition. On the next one. Then in the mezzanine courtyard space, again, the references to conservation management plan. And then on the next one. In this case, when we talk about the mezzanine, we're looking at this was sort of a way to talk about the brick material. And in this case, this is just a context plan to show you not only the upper mezzanine as well as most of the fourth floor terrace, but also showing the context all the way down in front of the porch in front of the main entrance on the third floor and the areas on the South Plaza. And you can see, for context, Congress Street stair all the way to the right. So in this case, the proposed design, and we have some additional slides if we needed to go back to this that I have on a new slide deck. But really, this slide at the end, this slide, the next one, Chelsea, represents what we had a series of slides showing existing conditions and then proposed. We're just showing essentially the proposed condition at the end, which was illustrating that the intention is to carry wire cut brick that was installed in phase 1 because it was the most accessible condition and verified and approved with the Disabilities Commission, carried that up the west ramp and up to the lower terrace area. We would be using that same detail all the way down on the South Plaza area for the new modifications on that side. In this situation, though, after talking to Disabilities Commission, they would prefer to have the wire cut brick extended all the way through the areas. So in addition to not only the lower terrace of the fourth floor terrace area, the upper terrace as well, too, over by the gridded skylights and the gridded skylights and the central skylight. So what we're showing in this slide is sort of the final condition, but we have some other slides that needed to show what we understood as the request from landmarks and then where that modification came from on account of the Disabilities Commission's feedback. Then moving to the South Plaza, the item that we heard on this one was about we also have one more slide to talk about the if needed, the green roof for the fourth floor, but I'll return to that in a second. Then on the South Plaza, the comment on that item was about looking at options for introducing steps at the top of the Congress Street step area, and then reviewing the accessible entrance conditions up near the third floor. So on the next slide, again, conservation management plan to show the references to this area. And then on the next one, here we looked at the current design you see on the left, and the concern was that the terraced, say, step area at the very top of Congress Street stair was not accommodating the original intent of having the Congress Street stair then land at the top of having another set of steps that lands you at the top of that plinth. And so we looked again at that condition, and as well as the accessible route up to the third floor once you got to that level of the top of the podium, and proposed the modification on the right here where we added the steps at the top of Congress Street stair. So now you have an accompanying ramp, well, technically an inclined walk, that leads you from the top of Congress Street stair all the way up to that sort of just below porch level, but you still have the continuity of the steps coming up from Congress Street all the way through. For accessibility then, maintaining the steps at the porch, only because there was limited space and pretty tight, and actually providing the accommodation for accessibility on the right-hand side by the two fins that anchor the area right near the elevator, so that then you have at least a point of entrance for accessibility that is similar to the starting and ending locations for somebody coming in a wheelchair or somebody coming up the stairs too, and leads you up to the third floor terrace. The next two slides show different views of that condition. This is a view looking from the Sears Crescent side. Looking out, you'll see the current condition and the modification of that, and how we accommodated the accessible entrance and the stairs, and then a view coming up Congress Street and how we accommodated that additional series of steps up to that upper level.
Mhm. Okay, so do you have things that you want to show that are not in this deck?
I do,
Okay.
if necessary, I can. It was about the wire cut brick and the sequence there, as well as the granite.
Okay. I think, yeah, go ahead, and if you can pull those up, I'll stop the share from here.
Sure. Is that sharing screen? I can't.
Yep, it is. You can see it.
So again, just returning to this item about the wire cut brick and the locations of that. This is just a reference view of that same area. So what we did in this series of slides was just identify what the proposed design was against the previous paving condition. And by previous, phase one is part of the existing conditions. So everything in phase one, including the main ramp leading up to the third floor, the West Terrace ramp, as well as all of phase one, is all the wire cut brick areas. Currently, without modification, everywhere else is the mortar joints and existing mortar joints that are very deteriorated and in difficult conditions. Then we understood that the request was to look at maintaining at least the mortar joints, but in a new format within the upper terrace area, as well as in front of the porch, the third floor porch lobby. And so that's where this slide would depict those two different locations. We understand that inside the lobby, there is also the extension at the elevator project would be proposing the mortar joints, but wax condition, because it's all interior space. Everything that's green there is interior. And then the other two areas would be, so there would be a transition from mortar waxed to mortar in place on the exterior, and then the wire cut brick would begin at the lower levels. However, with the discussion with the city and the and the Disabilities Commission, one slight modification with that was where we ended up modifying all of that to suggest that all of this would be wire cut brick. So really all the exterior brick areas there would be a continuity of all of that material all the way through in all areas, including South Plaza, the main porch entrance, and the upper area. The other one was just one quick slide to talk about at the West Terrace, because there was a question we understand from the group about what material these were. And so this is one of the few areas at the West Terrace area. Just for context, we're looking at this area right here, that edge. It's one of the few areas that's almost not covered on the floor terrace, but it's also difficult and challenging from an accessibility standpoint to get and to use as program areas because there are multiple steps down, and to make it accessible would require a significant amount of ramping. And so in lieu of that, we were looking at what the city is proposing, one of the few areas where we could have some planting because it's exposed to the elements above, but still keeping it low. So it wouldn't be visible, but it would only be visible from within the fourth floor terrace area, provide some green, some vegetation up there, but keeping it low enough so that we wouldn't be exceeding or really exacerbating any kind of structural conditions below here, and not doing any significant structural modifications there. Just really, after improving the waterproofing, bringing back this 2 plinths of essentially sedum trays or sedum planting in that area, keeping it lightweight, but providing some pop of color during the seasons and some green up in that upper area. So that was it for.
Great, thanks. I'm just going to take the share back so we can get the public comment thing up. But I'm also going, as I do that, I'm going to read from our staff comments. So hopefully you can see that now. And I'm just going to go back to a slide that sort of encompasses everything, kind of this type of view. Okay. As everyone here knows, the commission completed an advisory review for the project on 5/27/2025. Commissioners were in general agreement with the approach to this project and requested further development of the proposed bench at the central skylight and various paving details. Concern was raised about matching the existing poured concrete walls with new concrete and with the changes of the South Plaza where circulation patterns would change when steps are removed. Staff notes that only a portion of the South Plaza work adjacent to the south elevation of City Hall is located within the landmark designation. After reviewing the current presentation with a couple notes I'm going to add, staff recommends approval with the provisos, finding that the use of the wire cut brick paving be limited to the ramps leading from the plaza, and that the current brick paving with mortar joints be replicated at the flat surface of the fourth floor terrace. And I'm assuming that would also include the south side top terrace part. The other thing I just wanted to note, I didn't realize, I guess I missed the slide that said that the Disabilities Commission would prefer not to see all of these ghosts of the concrete walls. And I would say that that's a really important part of our approval and being comfortable with this project. So we'd like to keep the ghosting of the original walls in this project, definitely. And including the different material. Ghosting them in brick won't give the same effect. And then thank you for adding the slides about the steps to the top of the South Plaza, because I think that really has improved the project. And I didn't understand that this would be sedum, and I think that's a good discussion for the commissioners to take on. So with that, David, I will let you call on commissioners and I'll get back to our presentation. Sorry. Here we go, the steps. Justine?
Right.
Okay. Justine, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I just had a couple. On slide 11, I think it's pretty close to where we're at.
So my numbers will be different than yours because mine have.
Oh, okay. Maybe one more down.
Yep. No problem. Gridded.
Yes. So as the the non-architect representation here. I just wanted to note that how you like replicated the structure of the skylights
Mhm.
in this walkable surface is just very cool. So really liked that. And on slide 8, so I think 3 up from where we're at, Chelsea. Where we hit the precast bench here, will there be any sort of a pitch on the flat surface of the metal, like before underneath that precast to help with the drainage? It seems like we might get a puddle there underneath.
Yeah, that would be the intent, is to have that all positively sloping. It's maybe not shown accurately then in the
Sure.
drawing, but to have it positively draining all the way out and down under the bench and out.
As well as the surface.
And as
should
well as
have
the
a
surface.
wash to it, yeah.
Yeah, yep.
Great. And then I know we briefly spoke about this on the 27th, but just really wanting to reiterate the importance of mock-ups on this project. I don't think it's anything that necessarily needs to come back here, but just making sure that there's enough in the spec when it goes out to really identify all the mock-up needs in detail. And then my last comment on the walking surfaces, Chelsea. So is staff comments in conflict with the Disability Commission's comments at this point? I think you're muted.
Yes, on the choice of the type of brick laying on the top terrace area, and in the, I'm not even sure this is totally accurate, but Maurizio, maybe you could say,
Yeah.
I think with the ghosting of the concrete walls that are going to be removed, we are also in conflict.
Yeah. Okay.
Does
Okay,
that
so-
help, Justine?
Yeah, so just kind of as a process question, right? Like if our comments are in conflict with another commission's conflicts, how do we help resolve that, right? Is that necessarily the applicant's burden?
Yeah, I mean, normally we would have heard about that before a hearing. So those two things, I think I understood that the wire cut brick was preferable last hearing. I did not understand that the ghosting was not preferable. So that's a good question, Justine. And I might have Joe chime in if he could.
Yeah, I would just say we would want to work with the Disabilities Commission to come up with a good compromise. Ideally, we would like to have the brick with mortar at the upper level and the ghost, as Chelsea has explained, but we haven't had a discussion with the Disabilities Commission yet. So, it could be, one of the provisos is that staff works with the Disabilities Commission on that.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much. That's all I had.
Okay, thanks, Justine. Brad or Jeff, you have comments?
Yes, Jeff does.
Go ahead.
Maurizio, are there any artificial lights in the gridded skylight shafts?
There are currently, they were installed as part of a separate project. If you actually,
Do they wash up or down?
They wash down currently.
Okay, all right, that's good.
To provide, that's more to provide light, because in many of these cases, the gridded skylights don't actually even provide.
Okay,
some
all
of the
right, I
light.
see that
So,
now.
yeah.
Okay, all right, great. Well, what is a wax mortar joint? This is just my own scholarship.
So
It's
actually
the-
inside, oh, sorry, Chelsea.
Go ahead, Maurizio, go ahead.
No, inside the building, it's not just the wax mortar joint, it's all of the brick are actually waxed. So the
Oh,
surface it's
okay.
the brick install with the mortar joints, and then the surface is
Got it.
waxed, or
Okay, all right.
maybe that's not the right
All right.
technical terminology, but
The comment on the ghost of the old walls. I remember standing out in front of the plaza, in front of Notre Dame, and seeing the old ghost of the old medieval buildings that used to be there. And I thought that was really cool, as telling a story. So if we can somehow ghost in these old walls here on the plaza, perfectly flush, I think it's a nice little feature that would be I would like to see retained. And the last comment, the new proposed ramps there going down to Congress Street, nicely done. Yeah, very, very creative. Thank you.
I'll just note that I agree with Chelsea's comment that of the various ways to memorialize the ghost walls, I think the flush concrete is the preferred one.
Okay. Yeah, I have a few comments. Yeah, I do want to reiterate that I'm very happy with the extension of the stairs now that come up to that plinth from the steps on Congress Street. That's, I think, it's going to be a really nice transition. So I appreciate that being worked out. The one thing I had was, again, yeah, my comments were about the ghosting of the former walls. I do feel it's important to show those. And while, oh, can we, yes, with this in here. Now, the one that was talked about as being just lowered to make it into a seat wall. I guess my comment would be, because I'm all for seat walls, and my point here is that that's a gigantic space, it seems. And wondered if a seat wall would help to break that up a little, or is there any need to have two different spatial expressions there that a seat wall would help to reinforce? So I wondered if there was you had any thoughts about that, or if
This,
yeah, go
yeah.
ahead.
Oh no, the seawall was one of the comments we'd received the last time. So we were studying it and trying to understand what the impact was. I think one of the challenges though with a seawall or more vertical element there is that it does restrict then the flexibility of potential programming that the city
Okay.
could use for that space. But
Yeah.
it also then, because the existing wall is a parapet height or a guardrail height, so it's
Yeah.
42 inches-ish, somewhere in that range, is that this would actually be a new wall. So, it would be a new condition,
Yes.
not quite at the same height. It's slightly different. So there is not even the continuity of height other than width, or then, there's continuity of width, but not the same height. So it's a new element if it were to be introduced
Yeah.
there too.
Right. So yes, I understand. So then you might have to maybe think about making it into a different material or something, I guess is what you're
Yeah.
suggesting. But
Correct. Yeah.
yeah, all right. So I'm fine with that, but I do feel that it would be makes perfect sense to have it be ghosting. Now, I mean, I know that if the Accessibility Commission has they had another thought about that, I guess I would wonder if their thoughts to not having it be ghosted had something more to do with the safety or function of the surface versus just an aesthetic explanation, so to speak. Because if it's simply an aesthetic, I think obviously I would lean towards having what the commission and the staff's recommendations are for that, and that is to keep the expression of it in a flush condition.
Yeah,
So
I understand where the comment comes from. It's that usually when there's a change of materials, that's signaling a change of plane or a
yeah.
change of surface type.
Mhm.
But I think in this case they're pretty important, and they're also quite large. I don't
Yes.
think they will read as signals. My own opinion. But
Yeah.
again, like this is the type of thing that maybe we could work a little bit with disabilities on.
Okay. All right. So I think, and then in terms of the wire cut brick areas and the waxed brick areas, I mean, I don't have a strong opinion one way or another of that. I think the staff's comments about, where they were suggesting that we have these differences in the pavement material, I think is fine. I don't think it's necessary to keep the wire cut all the way through. So I would tend to agree with their assessment of that. And then last comment on the green roof areas, those are going to be exposed to the element or to rainfall, or is that undercover?
They
Is
are,
there,
yep.
they will
Yeah,
be,
it's one of
okay.
the few places that's not actually.
Good. Yeah. Okay. No, I think it's going to be, that'll be interesting. And then that way you don't have to, because I don't think you're going to need any more program space on
Right.
this plaza. There's a lot out there now. So I think this would add an interesting kind of a new element there. So, all right. I think those are our comments. And I think, again, I want to commend you on listening to our comments on the advisory and appreciate your and I do agree with Justine. I love the whole ghosting of the grid on those former skylights. I think that's going to be a really interesting space over there. So,
Great.
all
So
right.
you could just keep in mind what that motion will be. It sounds like an approval with some details remanded to staff.
Yes, remanded to staff. And I guess question I'll ask here is that regarding the decision on where the bricks and how that would work, would that, if we remand it to staff, then you'll work that out however you need to with the accessibility commission and all of that. So, okay.
Mhm.
All right. Great. Thank you very much.
Oh,
Oh,
we need
to
public
open it up for
comment.
comment.
Yeah,
Yes,
we can go
sorry.
to public comment.
Yep,
Let me
yep.
get the slide up here. Here we go.
Okay, so members of the public will now have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on the application. Comments will be timed to 2 minutes, and no repeat of previous comments are asked. So to offer a comment, please raise your hand via the Zoom meeting platform. If you're calling in and cannot use the platform, you can press *9 to raise your hand, or you can send your questions to staff via email at blc@boston.gov. And I don't see any.
I don't
Looks like
see any.
nothing coming through, no emails or anything.
No.
Okay, well, that's always a good sign.
Yep.
All right, so thank you very much. Excuse me. All right, the next is application 25.0606, and this is 16 Howe Street. And it's regarding construct 2 additional units at rear of the property attached to the existing house by a breezeway, site modifications and repairs, and modifications to the exterior and interior of the existing house.
Okay, and we have the architect with us tonight, and Eileen, I have the slides up. Just make sure you can unmute yourself.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Hi.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Eileen Rosa. I am representing the owner for 16 House Street. After meeting and reviewing this application for the past few months, we are here this evening to go over these details and just take a look. I'll try to go as briefly as possible. So if we can jump to the fourth to the last slide, Chelsea, that's slide number 14, where we're just going to start with the existing building pictures just to get a
Okay.
general idea on what's going on there. Not yet.
Great.
We have an updated one. It should be the slide number 14. Yeah, that one.
Is that it? Okay.
So those are the current views of the front and sides of the existing building. It's wood siding, and we have 6/6 wood windows where we're looking to remove the storm windows and paint and repair the existing windows as needed. Same as the building in general, meaning the siding, the trims. We're looking to maintain the full integrity of the existing building. In regards to the interior as well, we're looking to maintain all the existing millwork, meaning baseboard trims, molding, staircase, hardwood floor. We will make sure to comply with the stretch energy code regulations, but at the same time, ensure that we maintain the integrity of this existing single family home. If we can jump to the 10th slide, that's where the elevations are, then I can start talking a bit more about the Yep, the front elevation, the next one, yep, that one right there. So the view, the drawing on the top is the front view facing House Street, where we have the existing building right at the front, and the blue building, it's what's being proposed. In regards to the proposed building, one of the revisions we did now was that about the height, which was reduced to and adjusted to align with the height of the existing house chimneys in order to preserve the scale of the built environment and maintain a harmonious relationship with the existing house. The proposed siding, the intention with this one is to maintain the physical characteristics of the existing building, meaning the exposure of the siding, corner trims, window trims, and so forth. However, we are proposing fiber cement siding for this one and PVC trims throughout. There's a difference on the windows as well, just on the grids. In the existing building, we have 6/6. In the new building, we are proposing 2/2, just to find some contrast and harmony in between the buildings. The proposed dormers, we're using the same roof slope as the existing dormers, just to, again, find something in common in between the buildings and respect the morphology of the existing building, trying to keep the same language here and there, just in some aspects. For the foundation, we have on the existing building a fieldstone foundation. The new building foundation, it will be a concrete foundation, but we're looking to cover it with stone veneer to match up with the existing building foundation. Now we can jump to the third slide, if it's okay with you. That's the schematic site plan. Yep, that one there. So for the asphalt, we're looking to, and as well as the path, all the walkways, we're looking to work with some semi-permeable paving. We try to work a little bit better the green space in between the buildings with some concrete paver slabs to add more green. In regards to the mechanical equipment on the right side, we're looking to hide this as much as possible near the trash bins on the right side of both buildings. And on the left side, we added some bollards to save to protect basically the existing proposed building. We try to work with the landscape to bring some freshness and blend it in with the context. And added the mailboxes right by the sidewalk for better accessibility for the people who's going to be living here. We work with the colors of the buildings to find some contrast and find it a little bit more interesting. For now, that's all I have to share, I believe. The rest is just more about landscape, but I'm open for any comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Eileen. So I'm just going to do a quick recap of staff comments here. So the landmark designation for this property includes both exterior and interior of the existing building. No major alterations are currently planned for the interior of the existing building. The Commission completed an advisory review for this project on 4/22/2025. At that review, the Commission discussed reducing the height of the new building and further refining the design to differentiate it from the existing building, including changes to the window configuration and paint color. A developed site plan was also requested for the formal design review of the project. At a desk review with staff, it appeared that the applicants had taken most of the commissioner's comments into advisement when preparing the new set of drawings. Staff noted that the height of the proposed additional building has been reduced and that it does not overwhelm the existing building. Staff recommends the approval of this project with the following provisos. That final design details, including trim of the new building and landscape details, be remanded to staff for review, and that the city archaeologist should be consulted to identify any impact that the project may have had on archaeological resources at this site. So David, I'll let you call on commissioners if that's okay. Brad, I see your hand up. You can start.
Thanks. My first couple of comments have to do with the actual landmark, the existing building. And I understand you're not proposing changes to the interior, which is uniquely part of this designation. It sounds like you're not proposing many changes to the exterior. I noted in your comment that you said you hope to restore the existing wood windows and remove the storm windows and meet the requirements of the stretch code. And I wonder if you would just briefly comment on how that's going to work. Are you planning interior storm windows?
Yes, that's part of the plan. And in regards to the insulation, the idea, what's being proposed is to remove the old plaster, maintaining old trims, and insulate with spray foam insulation throughout.
Okay. And then briefly with regards to the new building, I want to encourage you or clarify that previous comments made here and in other contexts that may have been interpreted as encouraging you to make these buildings more similar. I actually think you would be better served by making these buildings more different. I think you'll do better on if you're applying for any tax credits or other similar kinds of programs. I think there needs to be more differentiation between the old house and the new house. I would like the trims to be different. I appreciate that the windows are different. I don't see why the doghouse dormer should match at all. I think you could actually do a different kind of dormer entirely, maybe a shed dormer on the blue building. Might help you on the interior as well. But these buildings should look more distinct from one another. I'm worried that it looks like an historic building and then a kind of imitation of the historic building that just won't measure up. So that would include things like trying to match the stone veneer on the foundation to the historic stone on the historic foundation. I don't think that's probably advised. This breezeway, which I think must be a requirement of zoning to connect the two buildings, I don't think should be detailed to match the side porch of the historic building. I think it should have its own detailing. So I just want to encourage you, if we do proceed as staff has recommended, to kind of approve the project in broad terms, but remand to staff continued development of details around trim and some of these other things. I want to encourage you to maybe be a little bolder in your thinking about making the new and the old look more distinct from one.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Justine or Jeff, if you have comments?
I don't have much to add on this one. I have maybe a question for Brad on his comment, just out of my own curiosity, how you feel about the height relationship between existing chimney and the new building. And if that kind of falls in that same thought process of wanting a difference there.
I mean, it looks like they're trying to match the two. I don't think that's necessary. I think the previous design review comment was to kind of get the blue building a little more hunkered down, which I think they've done. But I don't think there's any particular magic to saying the ridge line of the new building and the top of the chimney of the old building align.
No, I'm gonna just add to that because it was advice that I gave them. You're never going to see these in this
Right.
view here. You'll always be down at the roadway below the existing house. And so you'll never notice that these two things match, but we did ask them and they were able to get like maybe I think it was somewhere between 2 and 3 feet off the new building, which
Yeah.
we appreciated.
Agreed.
Okay, great. Yeah, I agree with the assessment on the two buildings looking too much alike. And matter of fact, it would make the historic building so much stronger if it was juxtaposed against something that had a much cleaner look to it and detailing. So yeah, I definitely don't think it should be in worried about being so design characteristic to it. So regarding everything else, I mean, I think the division of the windows, I think at least that's a beginning of it to be somewhat cleaner, and it's rather than have all the 6/6, that sort of thing. The landscape work, looks fine from what I could see. I think, accessibility is probably going to be something, I don't know how much that was a consideration, but you might need to have to think about that in terms of these stepping stones and that sort of thing, and the cobbles, whether they're accessible or not, or whether this project has to become adhere to that level of accessibility. So having it those details remanded to staff, I agree with. Okay, so if that's it for the commissioners,
Brad has his hand up
oh,
again.
Brad, I'm sorry,
I just
go ahead.
had one more question for the applicant, for the architect, for Eileen. The sort of side approach from the street to the side porch of the historic building is new, right? The side porch exists, but you're adding a kind of elevated porch and steps.
It is seems to be already elevated. The rear side of the land seems to be slightly lower than the existing building. So we're just looking to renovate that area and make it
I
accessible.
see, that exists.
Mhm.
And I just wasn't sure why then you're adding a railing other than at the stairs between the sidewalk and the
Yeah, I guess
driveway.
seems like once we start adding the driveway, working on the driveway, that grade is going to be slightly lower in that area. So we are under the impression that we're going to be above 24 inches in that area.
I see. So I think I would include that as a design detail to remand to staff as you continue to develop that. So
Correct.
Whether it's necessary or not, yeah.
yeah.
Okay. All right. All right, so if that's it, we can open to public comment.
Yep.
So members of the public will now have an opportunity to ask questions or provide public comment on the proposed application. And comments will be limited to 2 minutes each. And so to offer a comment, please raise your hand via the Zoom meeting platform. If you're calling in and cannot use the platform, you can press *9 to raise your hand, or you can send your questions to staff via email at blc@boston.gov. Oh, okay. I see Marty Glenn with the hand up.
Thank you. It took me a minute there to unmute. I think it must be the heat. First of all, I'd like to thank both the developer and the Landmarks Commission staff. You have clearly done a lot of work on this and improved it greatly from the iteration that we saw the first time. And one of the questions I have, that's a good picture. One of the questions I have is, what is the amount of space between the existing house and the new structure in the back? How much room is there in that little space that goes between them?
Sure, yeah. We'll check this. Just give me 1 minute. And the shorter part is 10 feet.
10
Yep.
feet.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And then going back to the picture that you just had, if there could be additional, I'm waiting for you to get to it. I think that's it. If the landscaping that's shown in the front side of the existing house, where the new railing is there some reason why that could not be continued? It looks as though your required driveway space is, I can't quite see the bottom of that picture, but your required driveway space is the width at the street level. So it seems like that landscaping could be continued perhaps to the point where the old house ends and I'm not sure what you just called it, but that little cul-de-sac begins.
Yeah.
It seems like that would give you more green space around it.
That would have been really nice, but we had to provide a parking spot for in buildings. That's why we had to designate that asphalt.
I see. Yes, that makes perfect sense. Thank
Yeah.
you. And I was going to plead with you to retain the mantles, but it sounds like you're going to retain the mantles that are in the old house, along with all of the trim. So I don't need to plead for that. I would suggest that the color of the new building be more subtle to not overwhelm the existing landmark structure. And other than that, I would remark, I'm channeling Commissioner Ward Hyatt here. She was the one who really wanted the roof pitch on both of the buildings to be very similar, which is of course what you've tried to do. So I appreciate that. I don't know whether the landmarks commissioners actually do, but I do like that feature.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marty. Anyone else? Let me look. I don't see any other hands up, David.
All right. So it looks like we'll recommend to the full commission to, well, I guess I will have a question here now, to accept this as it was presented, but how are we going to be, as far as if there should be changes to the new structure in the back to make it a little less historic in its look? Would that's something that we would be then just remand to you as to staff for
Yeah, but that would be fine. I mean, I think that with finishes, a little bit more of a modern feel could be given to the building. So if we say like trim and finishes, railing, all the things that we usually remand to staff.
And dormer windows.
Dormers. Yep. We could help Eileen sort of meet Brad's requests and make a little bit more of a differentiation between the historic building and the new building.
Right. Okay.
But I think the general massing is easy to work with.
Yes. Okay. Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Eileen. Okay.
How are we doing for time here?
We have 20 more
20
minutes. So this next project is just something that's coming back for presentation to the commission because that's what the proviso said to do.
Okay.
So if we can just spend really a short amount of time on this because
All right, so let me just read this in. Oops, let me get back.
Sorry
to
about
the-
that, David. Let me go back. Yep. Go
All
ahead.
right, the next application 23.0314, Nuba project parcel 8, and this is at 400 Melnia Cass Boulevard. And regarding final approval of the site plan and final details regarding archaeology are remanded to the city archaeologist.
And I have talked to the city archaeologist, and he has given approval of this project.
Okay, great.
So Michael, just make sure you can unmute yourself.
I am. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. So that is correct. Members of the board, we had been back before the Landmarks Commission in mid-October. At that time, the site plan and the park design was still sort of in a fluid state. So we are here before you tonight to sort of go over the site aspects. You can probably go to the next slide, Chelsea. I'll give you the nice site plan. In that time, we've received 75% approval from DCR as well as Mass Historical. We also do have several letters from the state archaeologists. We've had several meetings with their office to go over specifically the park design, as that does have some buried historical significant features. And I'll explain later on, but none of the work that we are proposing has any impact in that area. The project will consist of 2 buildings, 400 and 402 Melnia Cass. The first one will be 44 condo units, and then the second one will be a 60-unit apartment complex with parking on the first floor. There will be vehicular access off of Harrison Ave to covered parking for the first building. The second building does not have any parking. As you can see, we've got several sort of cross parcel pedestrian access from Melnia Cass that goes in between the 2 projects. The rear of the project is a large art walk area, which we will see farther along in our landscape design. On the corner of Melnia Cass and Washington, that's the primary focus. That area is has conservation restrictions, and that is deemed to be a public park. We have worked extensively with city staff and the Parks Department to refine the design of that space. The current historical features were the Doggett House and Cunningham House, and both of those will be represented through elevated expressions in that area, which we can see in that picture there. If we go into the landscape design, Chelsea, that's probably the best one.
There we go.
Next one. We can stop right there for 1 second. Oh,
Sure.
Yep.
Go ahead.
So we had developed this slide with the help of Joe Bragley, the city archaeologist, to sort of review the significance of buried features. The purple is trenches that were dug back in the, I believe, mid-80s that had located features within the site. We have gone through and calculated, based on our construction, the below depth grade that we would be, and based on this figure, none of the proposed work will impact any of the buried structures that currently exist on site. You can sort of see the outline that is the stone pattern. We'll get farther along, we'll see some elevated pictures, but those are designed to be seat wall elevation heights. And those mimic the historic footprints of the old dwellings that once resided on the property. It was the Doggett and Cunningham house. There was And then the main one was what was an old tavern. And that space is being provisioned as a meeting area. We will have permeable pavers within that space. There will also be game tables that will have seating on one side, and the elevated seat walls will be the back side of those, and we'll see those in a bit farther view. We do have an extensive landscape plan for this, specifically the park area. So we have trees that sort of flank the Melnia Cast side, as well as some trees that are in between the two representations of the historic homes. The interior of the historic foundations will be planted with a New England wildflower mix that will give a blast of color in that area. The permeable pavers in the middle will provide an accessible access for folks venturing into that area and partaking in the chess tables, or just generally seating and enjoying the space. The existing brick work along Washington Street is to remain. We do have provisions for some spot repairs in that area. We are also proposing to plant an additional tree. There was a tree pit that existed closer to the corner, and the project is proposing to reinstall a tree in that location. We can advance Chelsea a bit. We can get into a bit more details. This is a blow up of sort of the amenities. So you can see the outlines of the fixed tables in that area, the limits of the wildflower mix, and the raised planters. There are also interpretive signages that are being proposed in those spaces, and we do have a representation of that. The wording of that still needs to be worked out with staff, and it'll document the sort of historic nature of those existing structures that were in those areas. You can see the section through there that shows the construction of those elevations, both in the seating area and the raised areas with the wildflower mix. Additionally, as part of this project, the Nuba development purchased the sculpture, which was the love language sculpture. It sat for quite a while over at the Greenway. It has been relocated in the interim to the property across the street on Melnia Cast, where Urbanica has their offices. And then once the park is finished, will be relocated to its permanent location at the corner of Melnia and Washington, as shown on this picture. And if we can advance to the next slide, you can see a little bit more of the detailing. So we have a nice detail of our proposed play tables. We do have some bollard lights that will illuminate the walkways within those areas as well. Next slide, please. We do have a park bench to match the DCR's recommendation that we installed in that area. And you can also see the brickwork that is, the stonework that is being proposed for those projected foundations. And that sort of matches the historic nature of what would have been the construction methodology of the time. And go through, and that's just some details that we have relative to the planting. I do have some slides that sort of give a bit more on the plantings if needed, but we'd be happy to open it up to any questions that the board may have.
Yep. So,
All right.
David.
Yeah, thank you. Other commissioners, would you like to weigh in on this and any comments? Before we get to public comment,
Chelsea, do you want to read in staff comments?
Yeah, I just walked away from my phone. Let me grab it.
All right. You've been doing that on the other ones, so.
This is Jeff here. I only really have one comment, the benches. How many benches are there? Is it just one?
So we have one traditional bench that's being situated between the sort of the paved area, the permeable paver area and
Yeah.
the building. So we do have one bench there. There
Okay.
are benches that are being proposed in front of the play tables, and all of
Yeah.
the elevated projections will be seat height. So those will also function as seats as well.
I was wondering if can the bench be of a non-period, or does it have to be of such a historical look or a Victorian look? Can it be something else?
So that was, we had a different detail proposed. That was a direct request of DCR as part of their review of the park design.
Yeah. Okay.
So that matches their sort of standard within the DCR properties.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I have the staff comments here. Essentially, this project was reviewed on October 25th, 2023, with the proviso that the applicant return to the commission for final approval of the site plan. And any final details regarding the archaeology were remanded to the city archaeologist. The archaeology department has reviewed and approved this work. Staff recommends the approval of as submitted, as the project is consistent with the district standards and criteria, and the city archaeology department does not recommend any additional archaeological mitigation at the site. So it's basically just everything that we've already said. Go ahead, Justine, and someone else has their hand.
Yeah, just real quick. I'm sorry, I'm having a little hard time hearing, but who maintains this space? Is it the residential building?
It will be.
Fine.
So Nuba LLC will have will maintain this space. They have contracted with a professional property management company who is soliciting contracts from local landscape maintenance folks. So it will be maintained in perpetuity, excuse me, by the development.
And is this space meant to be used by the public, or is it?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Besides that, I was happy to already see the trash cans in there, which is usually my comment. So thank you very much for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have trash cans there. We do have some pet waste sort of collection down on the other side at sort of the art walk in between the buildings.
That's great.
Great, thank
Okay.
you.
Great.
David, do you want to just quickly run through the public comment slide, and then we'll let Allison make her comment?
Yes, I will. So, members of the public now have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on the proposed application. To offer a comment, please raise your hand via the Zoom meeting platform. If you're calling in and cannot use the platform, you can press *9 to raise your hand, or you can send your questions to staff via email at blc@boston.gov. Allison Putinus, go ahead. Oh, she's asking to be unmuted here.
Yeah, I'm
There.
There
unmuted. Yeah,
you go. Thanks,
Thank you.
Allison.
I'll be fast. Very disparate collection of things going in this space. It's a little odd. I'm here to speak for the Friends of Melny House Boulevard. As you know, we're always emphasizing trees. So it's a little odd with all the different things. I am kind of wondering about the footprints of the historic houses and wildflower plantings, and obviously that can't, survive fall, winter, and so on, and how this is all going to fit together is interesting. I understand there's a park commission meeting next week. And maybe more of the ownership will be clarified, because I thought it was going to be Parks Department, but I guess it's DCR, actually, so that's odd. It just seems a little confusing, chess tables, modern art, historic bench, historic signs. It just, I hopefully, when it's time to pull this all together, that maybe there'll be some more community process around it. I'm hoping, because our group would definitely be interested in talking to you. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Allison. Okay, yeah, I'm going to just weigh in quickly. I tend to agree with Allison's comments about there's a lot of stuff happening here. And I guess my biggest concern is these was it wildflower beds that you're planning to do inside the footprints of the buildings? Those are great, but let's face it, they require lots of maintenance in order for them to look good. I'm glad to hear that you are having maintenance done here, but I am concerned about what this looks like in the winter, because it is not going to be anything that's going to be very attractive to look at. So if that could at least be in the thought process as this gets flushed out, and maybe any further ideas about that could be remanded to staff on how you can achieve a more attractive look in the winter time, or something that maybe requires a lot less maintenance. Okay. With that said, I guess that was it for comment. Brad, I know Brad, did you have a comment at all, or is he on? No, he's not on.
So
No comment.
Okay.
could the applicant explain what the next approval processes will be for this project? I think Allison just mentioned a Parks Department meeting.
Correct. So we have Parks Department coming up on the 30th. And then we are also advancing to the 100% design with DCR. So we've had, there has been numerous meetings with the public for this project. It's been going on since 2021. So there's been a lot of involvements, particularly relative to the park design. This design that you currently see is probably the 5th iteration of the design, going back and forth with the BPDA, the Parks Department, DCR as well. And this is the design that all of those entities have sort of come together and blessed. So it's,
lots of review.
There's been a lot of review, and we've tried to incorporate sort of everyone's comments in our design. There was numerous departments and individuals and iterations going back and forth. So I get the comment about the different types of materials and a lot of different things happening here, but those are all based on comments that we received during this review process.
Well, that's totally understood.
Yeah.
So David, I think that this came back as a sort of a site design check. We were responsible for making sure the archaeological resources were protected, and that this fits within the standards and criteria of the Eustace protection area. So I think in that respect, it can be
approved as
submitted. I do agree, though, that it would be nice if one reviewing agency, and maybe it's us, maybe we make further proviso comments to sort of like harness the mood and style of all of this park.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes that's the problem with a lot of public input, is that you get all kinds of disparate pieces here, but understood. So, all right. So we'll recommend to the full commission to approve as it was presented. Okay.
And I believe that if you have a minute, the developer has his hand up, the owner.
We are very, very short of time, so if it's a quick comment, we'll go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a very quick comment because I just see you have only 400 milliacast. It has to say 400 and 402 milliacast because it's under two separate permits with the application with the
Yes,
ISD. So I
it
just
did.
don't, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the earlier slides included that, so no worries about that.
Okay, so I just wanted,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thanks for your comment. Okay, so
Thank you.
David, we'll move on to the next
Yes.
application. We'll go quickly.
Thank you.
Yep,
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Michael. Let me just get you up to this slide here. Okay, so this is our last design
Yes,
review
which
application.
is application number 25.0878. This is non-factory at 2080 Washington Street. The non-factory redevelopment will restore and renovate the existing building and reconstruct the full massing of the original structure on its existing building foundation. So the applicant can introduce yourself and get started. And please keep in mind that we actually are over at this point. So if you can make it quick and concise, we would appreciate it.
Okay, John, let me grab your credentials here. Okay, John, go ahead. And I can start wherever you need me to start. You should be able to unmute yourself.
Yes. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, perfect. Thank you. So what you're seeing on your screen right now is an overhead view, a floor plan of the existing building as it is, with 2 stories above ground and a complete basement running about 115 feet back from Washington Street. Next slide, please.
Mm-hmm.
And then an elevation of the same with the 2 stories above ground, and then the foundation running back with a metal railing fence along the length of the adjoining burial ground. Next slide, please. So what we are proposing to do is to build it out to its original massing, maintaining the roof line of the existing building with a parapet on the addition, and converting it into a functional arts and cultural center or a dance studio in the vernacular. So what you're seeing now is the floor plan of the basement and the first floor, where we have 2 studios, 2 functional studios in the basement. We have an office, restrooms for the facility, and a mechanical room. And then in the first floor, we have 4 more studios, more restrooms, and a reception area leading up to the second floor. So next slide, please.
Mm-hmm. Do you want the next one?
Yes, please.
There we go.
Okay, I'll take the elevation. So now we're looking at an elevation of the completed building as proposed, where we have a 2-story curtain wall on the addition in the circulation area so that people can look out over an adjoining park as they are moving through the building. We're also adding an exterior stair at the back of the building for egress, but in the existing structure, as much as possible, trying to respect the history of the building with historically accurate doors and windows. Next slide, please.
Mm.
And then on the other side of the building, we have another 2-story curtain wall in the addition so that people moving through the stairwell, climbing from the first floor to the second floor, can get a view on both sides of the building. One side on the park looking out over Melnia Cass, and on the other side also looking out over the burial ground. We think that'd be really quite attractive to interior visitors. And then the same as we were proposing before with respecting the windows in the existing structure, and then a little more latitude in the new addition. Next slide, please. Then here we have a cross section of materials that we're going to be using in terms of building the facade of the building. I also want to elevate, if he's still here, Donnie Garrity, who's supposed to be joining me in this presentation.
One moment. You'd like me to give him co-host?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Oh, I see him. Politely put his hand up. You should be able to unmute, Donnie. Hold on. There we go. Okay, now you should be able to unmute.
All right, thank you very much. Yes, I'm here helping Jonathan with the presentation tonight. I just want to apologize in advance. My colleague had a family emergency, so I'm not as familiar with the history of the project, but here to help answer any questions. I know you guys are running up against the time limit, so here to help with any questions that come up.
Thank you very much. So I'm gonna, John, if you're complete, I can read the staff comments that were given.
Fantastic. Yes, please.
Okay, great. The commission completed an advisory review for this project on 2/27/2024. And since then, it has gone through rigorous planning department and mayor's office of housing review as well, as part of Plan Nubian non-factory Roxbury Heritage State Park developed project. City agency review has focused recently on requiring the new addition to be all brick and that the windows facing the John Elliott Burying Ground be reduced in number and/or size. The proposed solar canopy as designed does not meet the standards and criteria of this district. The solar canopy as designed must be eliminated, and staff recommends rooftop solar be redesigned for approval by the fire department. Plan for that rooftop solar reconfiguration can be remanded to staff for review. Staff recommended that the window openings within the new building have flat headers to be differentiated against the historic building, new construction from the historic building. Staff also recommends approval with the following provisos, finding that most aspects of the project are consistent with the district standards and criteria and meet the expectation of other city agencies that have provided review for the project. The first is further development on the design, arrangement, and number of windows at the new addition side elevation facing the burying ground, with the goal of reducing the light spill casting into the burial ground at night, with final details remanded to staff. Final window details as the new window headers shall be flat to differentiate from the new construction from the historic building. Final design details and plans, including details of a full brick white veneer, are to be remanded to staff for review and approval. Final detail design and plans related to the integration of the building with the historic wall. We would need to see a section of that detail. And any proposed public artwork proposed for the building will be reviewed at a later date and shall be temporary in nature. So I think that's extremely long-winded, but it does sort of help contain the limits of this review, and also sort of it plays nicely with other departments that have had review over the project. So David, with that, I give it to you.
Okay, thank you. I just want to, if you can go back to the site plan, I have a basic question that would clear up my understanding of this. Anything that shows the original, what's there now, and then what you're adding to it. So was the original building the full length of the site? Is that what I heard, or is this the existing the floor plan that's there now? That is the historic building, and then you're adding as a new entity this rear portion?
So the first interpretation is correct. The full length of the foundation was originally a brick building, and the rear portion of it was demolished after suffering severe fire damage around 1994.
All right. And so you don't have any photos or anything of what the original building looked like that was burned down?
We do, yes.
You do. And so of your addition, how much of that are you representing? Or is it because I guess the thing that I saw, which sort of threw me, is the different in height from your original structure to the one in the new addition in the back. And there's no meshing, there's no connection, or even, it just seems like a very disparate kind of addition. And I just wonder why that is.
The change in height is actually a parapet. So the roof deck is the same height, but the parapet is intended to hide rooftop mechanicals.
All right. Okay. So the mechanicals would be that extensive such that it would need to have that full building, the entire building, have a much higher profile. All right. It just seems a little strange, but is the last question is this a pergola structure on the top here? What are we looking at there?
Yes, it is a pergola to elevate the solar panels off of the roof deck. The intention being that we want to comply with fire code.
All right.
Firefighters aren't able to service the building if there are solar panels in the way.
All right. And so the pergola is supposed to have is it also supposed to have a decorative sort of design feature to it, or is it just simply utilitarian?
It's planned as utilitarian, but it can go either way.
Yeah. All right. My only comment would be the way it comes, you've got it going along, and then boom, it's like right at the point of the where the original building is. I think it needs to be pulled back somehow and have that pergola structure, just confine itself to the new addition and not have it come all the way across and just slice it off as you get to the interface. So that's probably my biggest comment. So I guess what I was thinking is there's no need then, because of the fact that there was a structure there originally, there's no need to make a differentiation between the historic building and then what is new by way of some kind of a recessed portion or an indentation or some kind of a physical visual separation, I guess is what I'm getting at. So.
So
All
I'm just going to add
Go
one
ahead.
thing to that, that the roof canopy, the solar roof canopy or pergola is not recommended by staff. So we would
Oh, it's
recommend that we work with the fire department to establish an appropriate amount of solar panels on the building while maintaining their ability to
Okay.
fight fire. So that's one of the very firm staff recommendations.
Because it is a very strange piece of it. So, all right, good. I'm glad that's would be a proviso then. So, all right, that's the extent of my or the other thing too, the brick color, are you trying to match it or not match it, or what's that all about?
The request was that we do not match the brick color because we don't. There was a concern that we wouldn't be able to properly execute.
Yeah. Okay. All right, I agree probably since it's yeah, to maybe have a slight difference. So, all right, those are the extent of my comments. The other commissioners could weigh in. Commissioner Haney or Orlando or Walker, either one.
I'll jump in. Just three quick things. One, the windows facing the burial ground. I think the first time we saw this, we had less windows just in a scattered format. And now we have more. I know one of the staff comments is to reduce the windows, which to reduce the light onto the burial ground, which I absolutely support. Also talking about that same elevation, I didn't see it detailed on the plans, but know that this may not be the level of detail we're into yet. Do you anticipate having any sort of exhaust or any sort of discharge on the burial ground elevation?
No, I think we should be able to, sorry, Jonathan, I think we should be able to vent everything through the roof. I don't think we'll need to make any exterior penetrations here.
Okay, so even for that equipment, if you know, any exhaust louvers can be orientated away from the burial ground would be ideal.
Yep.
And is any of the other groups that you're working with commenting about temporary conditions along the perimeter, you know, shared border there with the burial ground at all, in terms of temporary shoring or just general protection during construction to prevent, you know, the crews from venturing into areas they don't need to be in?
It's definitely come up as a concern. So yes, we definitely want to be sensitive to the burial ground when we're putting up that side of the building exterior, and then as quickly as possible, remove the crews and then work from the non-factory side for everything else.
Okay. I don't think that it's necessarily our group's place to direct that at all, but I think it would be nice to have a plan once you're at that stage, just for record for both you know, any shoring supports and then just general construction mitigation. But otherwise, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Justine. Brad, go ahead.
Yeah, Chelsea, would you go to one of the long elevations, please? Preferably the one with the exterior stair.
I'm flopping in between because I forgot to add this site plan, so that's my fault. And you want to see the next one? This one?
Yeah. So I kind of want to pick up on what David was saying and maybe take a more global view of this, and a global view of the nature of preservation and restoration and reconstruction. This is a long building that existed and 2/3 of it disappeared in a fire. The foundation exists. You're proposing to rebuild on the existing foundation, so that in plan, the addition and the existing portion of the original building are continuous. In other words, there is no change in elevation. There's not even a reveal, as David was sort of saying. And in expression, you are repeating really verbatim the windows from the old building, and presumably you're not showing us pictures of what the missing portion of the building looked like. Presumably it continued to look like that. And then on that long elevation, you're doing two other things. One is you're putting a parapet on it, which I want to circle back to in a second. And two is you're kind of making two sort of modern interventions. I think the modern interventions are kind of interesting and appropriate and entirely dependent on the care you place in detailing them to make them successful or not successful. I don't see, given where you are in the design right now, any reason to have this parapet. You are continuing the old building and the addition in vocabulary and massing and proportion in plan in every way. And I don't see why you wouldn't continue it in cornice and have a setback screening device of some kind for your mechanical equipment as minimally as you can where you need it. I just am not finding that that differentiation in cornice height makes any sense. It could potentially make more sense if the addition, the reconstruction, was more substantially different than the existing construction. If you wanted to tell a story that the building was destroyed by fire and an entirely new building was built with a different vocabulary, different materials, different proportions. I think the tenets of historic preservation would support that. But that's not what you're doing. You're actually replicating most of it. And then just sort of not that cornice. So I am not compelled by this change in elevation at all, and I would really like you to reconsider it. And then, as I said, these two openings, I think, really need, including what you see through them, especially the one that's sort of still listed as a fire stair, really need some careful attention. It feels like you're putting a lot of money and heat on that fire stair, and it's just a fire stair and not really letting light into your building. I think that's kind of a lost opportunity. I don't really get that little shed roof that's on it. So I think there's just some better design opportunities here if this is the direction you want to go, if you want to kind of replicate the building that was there, with some interventions on it. I totally agree with staff on this solar canopy thing. I just don't think it's supportable under the guidelines. And the nuances of whether brick should be different color or not a different color, I'm guessing not a different color probably makes some sense, because it's probably going to be very hard to make that a seamless connection. And I'll stop there. I think that's the extent of my comment.
Brad, I think I would like to hear your thoughts on windows.
Well, if windows are going to be windows that are matching in proportion in 6/6 and alignment with the historic building, essentially replicating what was there before the fire, then I think the rest of the building needs to do that too. That's why I said the cornice needs to do that too.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, the whole 2/3 addition needs to be substantially more different. Wow. And speak to the fact that it is a 2025 reinterpretation of a building that burned in 1994. So right now it's this very awkward kind of uncomfortable middle ground that isn't supported by the discipline of historic preservation. That that old looks old and new doesn't look old.
If I may just really quickly, John might be able to speak to this better. I know, again, we have time crunch here. This has morphed along the way. This has been in front of a lot of different groups, and the design has changed. So I hear your comments on some of these building elements, and I think we can certainly look at some of these things again, but this has changed drastically as it's gone through a bunch of different review boards. So I don't know if, so I think we can.
Staff can help you negotiate differences with other boards and
Certainly.
How we interpret the historic resource relative to the study report is our purview. I understand that some other city agencies like to weigh in on those aesthetics too, but sometimes they're out over their skis.
Jeff?
Question, I think, am I correct in the last time we saw this, that the new addition was a metal skin?
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
And
that's
you've
what
been
Donnie is referencing.
you've been forced to go with brick now?
The Mayor's Office of Housing asked that this be a substantial brick building. And I think that's doable, even in the sense that we keep it as a little bit more of a modern building.
Absolutely. It could be a modern brick building.
Yeah, I understand the needs in both directions, and I think that we can help the applicant achieve what they need to achieve. I'm also going to add, Jeff, this is likely a project that will need to go through for like tax credits and things like that. So, if National Parks is looking at that, they're going to want the new part of the building really to read as a new part of the building.
Or is there a compromise where the facade facing the cemetery remains brick, but this facade, the performance area, that is a contemporary interpretation, so we're not limited to trying to mimic what was there originally?
So I don't think that we can subject this applicant to any more like major major shifts. I think we need to be very like finely tuned shifts that we ask for that achieve our preservation needs and don't conflict with what they've already been asked to do by other agencies. And I think that's possible. I think we're definitely dealing with a masonry building. Liz, go ahead.
I believe this is also subject to a preservation restriction held by the Massachusetts Historical Commission. And wanted to know if you could comment on where you are in that process, because they will also have design feedback.
Absolutely right. So yes, we've submitted our project notification form to Mass Historic. We've gotten a first round of feedback from them and are resubmitting.
Okay. So we should open this up for public comment if everybody else has weighed in at this point.
Sorry, I'm talking to myself. There was one thing that came to my attention over the past couple of weeks that we have not talked about yet, or maybe we talked about it with the applicant, but it's the site condition page right at the bottom where your site meets the burial ground site. And I think there was a request just to understand the grading there. And I think I'll switch to the site plan just so that we can tackle this really quickly. Let me just pull that up. So at the very, very end of the building, you have sort of a grassy space here, John and Donnie. I believe if you haven't already been asked to or will in the future by other agencies, if this little pocket of green here could be left at a level grade so that if the burial ground folks ever want to have a accessible entrance to their site, they could adjust their site to allow that to happen. And I don't think there's anything that prevents that. Is that true?
No, there's nothing stopping us. So the burial ground and the non-factory are two distinct foundation walls just butted up against each other.
Right.
So that grassy area is running up against the burial ground wall. And if later in life we want to install an accessible entrance there, we absolutely can.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. Sorry to belabor this, but I wanted to make sure we covered that. Okay, so now I'm going to give you the public comment slide, John. David.
Okay, members of the public will now have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on the proposed application. To offer a comment, please raise your hand via the Zoom meeting platform. If you're calling in and cannot use the platform, you can press *9 to raise your hand, or you can send your questions to staff via email at blc@boston.gov, and comments will be limited to 2 minutes each.
Okay, so just a reminder to raise your hand if you want to make a comment or ask a question. And I am not seeing any hands.
Okay. All right, so with no comments coming through, we'll close the public comment period. So just to recap here, our recommendation then to the full commission would be then for a continuance, or what would be the best way to handle this?
John, the comments that you received from Mass Historic, will that generate a new set of drawings for submission, or will you be submitting the same set that you gave to us tonight?
I don't believe that it will. It will, but I can't say for sure yet.
Okay, I'm just trying to save you from having to go twice. So Joe, I don't know if you want to weigh in on what an appropriate motion would be in this case. I think we can handle things with provisos.
Yeah, I mean, we can always come back to the commission, on a staff level if we think
Yeah.
we need more input.
Okay.
All right.
So that would be an approval with design issues.
Remanded to staff.
Further design issues remanded to staff. So, all right, fine. Okay.
All right.
That's the last one, wasn't it? Oh,
That was
do
the
we,
last one.
and
Last one.
do I read in, sorry, do I read in the admins now, or is that?
Yeah, let's do that now. I believe they're on the screen now.
Yes, all right, hold on, I see them here. All right, these are applications that came before the BLC staff, and they were approved based on their conformance to the standards and criteria. So I will read them in, and then we will ask the full commission to vote on accepting that. So the first is application 25.0854. This is 4-Point Channel, and it's at 308 Congress Street regarding installation of new signage, outdoor furniture, or outdoor cafe furniture, lighting, planters, and awning. Next, 25.0863, again, 4-Point, and this is at 330 Congress Street, and this is remove existing wall signage, install new wall sign consisting of a lit face channel letters, mounted to aluminum backer, Duncan letters, giving the various sizes here, and then install 2 replacement faces for existing double-sided blade sign. Non-illuminated faces are 2 feet diameter. No change in size or location. Next, 25.0862, again, 4-Point, 63 Melcher Street, regarding washing of the masonry facades at 63 Melcher Street. Replace damaged bricks as needed in several areas, particularly along bottom courses. Rebuild 6 fire doors, fire door arch lintels on Necco Street, elevation fire escape. Repoint mortar joints as needed on rear alleyway elevation. Repoint 100% of elevation to the right of the fire escape on Necco Street elevation. Remove downspout on alleyway elevation and repoint behind. Repair masonry around steel embedments. Repaint downspouts in same green color and put them back. Next, 25.0923, and this is at 189 Perkins Street. The blue bikes stations throughout the Emerald Necklace, and this is the work is these 5 locations are for publicly owned bike share system. Blue bikes were finalized after a planning effort in February and March of 2025. The stations consist of a payment kiosk, a map, advertising panel, and 15 or 19 docks for bikes. Stations are fully solar paneled, are powered, wireless, and modular. No elevation or excavation or utility hookups are required. Next, 25.0965, 30 North Bennett Street, the Nazaro Center. Exterior facade repairs to address changes in deterioration will include and repair and replacement of masonry elements, stone and wood elements. Design modifications include the replacement of 2 non-original exterior doors and the replacement of a single handrail at the east entrance and pair of
Sorry about that.
pair of code compliant painted steel railings at each side of the stair, and the new rooftop equipment included, and not visible. Okay, so the motion would
Thank you,
be
David.
at the full commission to accept these applications.
Great. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next part of our hearing. Liz, I'm going to make you the host. And that should transfer to you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then I think we are at a minimum for commissioners right now. I think John Freeman had to leave, so unless he
Yep.
came back. Just be aware that when you're doing voting, if we lose anyone, we'll have to adjourn.
Don't leave. All right, I'm going to jump in. We're recording still, I assume.
Yeah,
Yes.
All right.
I didn't stop it, so let's just make sure it's recording.
It does look like it is.
Okay, great. Awesome. Thanks, Brad.
All right. Good evening, everybody. I'm Brad Walker, Chair of the Boston Landmarks Commission, and I'm calling this meeting to order of the Boston Landmarks Commission, June 24th, 2025 at 6:34 p.m. Thank you for your patience as we wrapped up an earlier matter. I'm going to do, sorry, first I'll do commissioners present, which I believe are Commissioner Orlando, Baraducci, Barrios Milner, Commissioner Hoffman, Commissioner Amadeo, Commissioner Haney, and myself. Are there other commissioners present that I missed?
Yeah, Brad, Angela Ward Hyatt has her hand raised. She's here.
Great. Hi, Angela. Happy to have you here. Also present are from Boston Landmarks Commission staff. Chelsea, are you and Joe staying? Momentarily, at least. Chelsea Blanchard, staff architect. Joe Cornish, director of design review. Elizabeth Sherva, who is executive director of the Boston Landmarks Commission. Kathy Kotaridis, who is the director of the Office of Historic Preservation. I saw Sarah Lawton, preservation assistant. Other staff members present? Good. All right, you can participate in this hearing by going to the Zoom meeting link posted in our agenda online at zoom.us/j/986-922-00856 or by calling 301-715-8592 and entering the meeting ID 986-922-00856. You may also submit written comments to us via email at blc@boston.gov. In accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, including the March 28th, 2025 amendment extending the suspension of these provisions until June 30th, 2027, we are conducting this meeting online. To ensure public access to the deliberations of the Boston Landmarks Commission, the public may access this call through telephone and video conferencing. This hearing is being recorded. All conversations between commissioners should be audible to the public in attendance until the hearing has been adjourned. If there are any media or elected officials present, I would ask you to identify yourself now by stating your name, title, and affiliation. And this will be the first time of several where I need to mention that if you wish to be unmuted, you need to use the raise your hand function in the Zoom meeting platform or *9 on your mobile phone. Not seeing anybody. Let me very briefly read into the record tonight's agenda, which has been published in advance. Earlier tonight, the design review subcommittee met and we will discuss several design review meeting subcommittee items, including administrative review items. We will move on to the ratification of meeting minutes from June 10th, 2025. We will then review sorry, I'm going to move along. A proposed architectural conservation district for the Kenton Greenwood area, and that will be a voting matter to accept a petition for further study. We will receive public feedback on a study report for the Anna Harris Smith House at 65 Pleasant Street with a vote to accept the study report and a vote to designate as a landmark. We will then just move on to staff updates. And then finally, there will be a vote to see if the commission will move into executive session to discuss an open meeting law complaint received by the Boston Landmarks Commission on June 12th, 2025. And the public meeting would adjourn out of the executive session. So anyone who's still hanging on at that point, just be advised that will be the end of the meeting. So our first item is review and vote on design review items from earlier this evening, and I will pass that to David Baraducci, who is design review subcommittee chair.
Okay, thanks, Brad. The first we had was on, we had a couple of Fort Point Channel applications here. So this was a 25.0856 at 268 Summer Street. And this was a, just trying to recap it without the slides here, but the motion was to not accept the portion of the application where the applicant was lining the insides of one of the main entrance into through the bays with metal that was then coming out to the exterior of the building. So we basically told him to relook at that, and if they do any kind of metal lining of the interior of this arch opening, to do it where such that the brick is exposed completely, the full brick, and rather not come over the edge of the brick.
Yeah, David, that was actually a denial without prejudice in general.
Was it
Yeah.
denial? Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. So the motion, the motion would be then denial without prejudice on that. So how does that, do we vote on that, or is that?
Yes.
We
Yep.
do. Okay, so that's the motion.
I'll second.
All right, voting would be alternative commissioners Barrios, Milner, Hoffman, Amadeo, and Ward Hyatt. 1 second. These. Commissioner Orlando,
Yes.
Commissioner Baraducci,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrios Milner,
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman,
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward Hyatt.
Yes.
Are we voting on these one at a time or as a group?
I think we usually vote one at a time on.
One at a time.
One at
All
a
right.
time, because they're all different motions.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so the next is 25.0935 15 Channel Center Street. This was the applicant was requesting to remove two what appear to be original and designed doorways to make way for two wider doors to accommodate a new accessible entry. And the doors were going to be more contemporary in their design, so we voted, or we are suggesting that the vote be to reject the application of the two new doors in the design, and come up with doors appropriate for the size that they need to be, but in the original, more historic look. And then the threshold that was there, the granite threshold, it was a step essentially going into the building, that be lowered down, it be kept and lowered flush with the entry so as to preserve it, and but still be able to see it.
So that motion, I think we said, was going to be an approval with details remanded to staff so
Yes,
that we can review the new proposed wood doors.
Yes.
I will second.
Thank you. And voting would be alternate commissioners Hoffman, Amadeo, Ward Hyatt, and Haney. And I'll start with Commissioner Orlando.
Yes.
Commissioner Baraducci.
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo.
Yes.
Commissioner Ward Hyatt.
Yes.
Commissioner Haney.
Yes.
And I vote yes.
All right, the next is 25.0973, and this is 1 City Hall Square at Boston City Hall, 4th floor terrace and South Plaza. There were a lot of components here that they basically came back to us from their previous presentation, and made all of the changes that we had suggested. And so the motion would be to accept the application with provisos that any remaining details, such as the particular style of brick in terms of wire cut or mortar in certain areas, that be remanded to staff for final determination. And the other was when some of the walls were going to be removed and we were using flush pavement treatment to ghost the former location of those walls. And there was some discrepancy on different agencies weighing in on how that should be treated. So that ultimate decision will be remanded to staff as well. And I believe that was it for all of the.
Yeah. So that's an approval with several details remanded to staff.
Remanded to staff, exactly.
I will second.
You, and let's say this one, maybe it's easier if I say who's going to sit one out. Commissioner Hoffman, I'm going to ask you not to vote on this one. Commissioner Orlando,
Yes.
Commissioner Baraducci,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrios Milner,
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward Hyatt,
Yes.
Commissioner Haney,
Yes.
and actually, I'm going to go back. Commissioner Hoffman, you can vote. I can take up to 9 votes. Sorry.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Great.
The next was application 25.0606 at 16 Howe Street. The motion would be to accept as it was presented, but the remaining details that need to be fleshed out would be remanded to staff, and those would be regarding looking at ways of making the new building not quite so slavishly detailed to look like the historic structure, that there is room in there for more contemporary expression of some of the details. So all of that would be reviewed by staff.
I will second.
You, all commissioners voting, Commissioner Orlando,
Yes.
Commissioner Baraducci,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrios Milner,
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman,
Yes.
I think that was a yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward Hyatt,
Yes.
didn't hear that. Yes,
Sorry.
okay.
Yes.
And Commissioner Haney.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, the next is application 23.0314, the Nuba project at parcel 8 at 402 Melnia Cass Boulevard. And the motion here would be to accept as it was presented, and then any further details regarding some of the maybe simplification of the site plan, and some of those details would be remanded to staff for final review.
I will second.
Thank you. Commissioner Orlando,
Yes.
Commissioner Baraducci,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrios Milner,
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman,
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward Hyatt,
Yes.
Commissioner Haney,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
All right, and the last was application 25.0878, the non-factory at 2080 Washington Street. And I think you probably all were here for that one. And so the motion would be to accept the application as it was presented, with staff being, with the remaining details remanded to staff for review. And that would be particularly in the working out of some of the details on the new addition and how it meshes with the existing building that is currently there on site.
Second.
Thank you. Voting, Commissioner Orlando,
Yes.
Commissioner Baraducci,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrios Milner,
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman,
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward Hyatt,
Yes.
Commissioner Haney,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
All right, and then the last piece here was a series of administrative reviews that I had already read. I read into the record, and the motion would be to accept the staff's approval of those administrative approvals or applications.
And I will second.
Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Orlando,
Yes.
Commissioner Baraducci,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrios Milner,
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman,
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward Hyatt,
Yes.
Commissioner, thank you. Commissioner Haney,
Yes.
and I vote yes. So we'll now jump back to the ratification of meeting minutes, which were issued to commissioners for their review, the meeting minutes from June 10th, 2025. Did anyone have any substantial comments on the meeting minutes?
I didn't hear of any.
If not, I would entertain a motion to approve as submitted.
So
Make
moved.
that motion.
David,
Yeah.
and a second, please.
I'll second. Jeffrey Haney.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Commissioner Orlando,
Yes.
Commissioner Baraducci,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrios Milner,
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman,
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward Hyatt,
Yes.
Commissioner Haney,
Yes.
and I vote yes. So the meeting minutes are approved. And we move on to petition study reports and designations. Get my notes together. All right. All right, so we're going to be discussing Kenton Greenwood Architectural Conservation District tonight. The purpose of the preliminary this preliminary hearing is to provide petitioners with an opportunity to present the Boston Landmarks Commission why a property or properties should be considered for designation. If the commission votes to accept the petition for further study, there will be an opportunity for those either supporting or opposing designation to express their views at a later hearing. If after the presentation, the commission accepts the petition, written materials and additional documentation on the proposed district will be welcomed by the commission to help with the study. If the commission finds cause to reject the petition without further study, it may do so by simple majority vote, provided that its reasons for so acting are stated in the decision and are furnished in writing to the petitioners. I would now invite the petitioner's spokesperson to briefly present the reasons for the petition with respect to the significance of the area and why it should be considered for designation.
I'm going to have Jennifer raise her hand. Thanks, Jennifer. I'm going to make you co-host so that you can present. Okay, Jennifer, you should be able to go ahead, unmute yourself and present any documentation you have.
Okay, great. Thank you. Just going to share my screen. Okay. There we go. Okay. So we are seeking architectural conservation district designation for Kenton Road, Sherland Street. Sorry about that. There we go. Kenton Road, Sherland Street, Dungarvan Road, and selected properties on Washington Street in Jamaica Plain. We seek this designation because the area represents a significant period in history when a former country estate was subdivided to make way for the urban transit-oriented residential development of Jamaica Plain. The houses in the proposed district also illustrate a range of intact historic architectural styles from that period. Historically, the names of these streets were Greenwood Avenue, now Kenton, Garfield Avenue, now Gartland, Garfield Street, now Sherland, Cary Road, now Dungarvan, and Shaman Avenue, Dedham Turnpike, Norfolk, and Bristol Turnpike, which were the various early names for Washington Street. Dungarvan has no houses, but was originally named for the landowner of this area, Isaac Harris Carey, born 1803 and died 1881, and it was likely an access road for his original substantial property, which you can see down here. And this is the district we're talking about up here. Built between the 1840s and 1905, the buildings within the proposed boundary represent the development trend of Boston's streetcar suburbs from the late 19th through the early 20th centuries. Kenton, Gartland, and Shurland are all small side streets off of Washington, which ran roughly parallel to the Boston and Providence Railroad, constructed in 1834 with a Jamaica Plain station. Horse-car trolleys came in 1856, followed by electric streetcars in 1889. These transportation options allowed Jamaica Plain residents to live here and commute to their jobs in the city center. Kenton, originally called Greenwood, was among the first streets laid out between Washington and Forest Hill streets. Greenwood may have also provided access to Washington from 235 Forest Hills, the location of Carey's estate, still near the corner of William Street today. A successful Boston merchant, Carey was proprietor of a comb, jewelry, and fancy goods store called Isaac H. Carey and Company. Carey augmented his wealth by buying and subdividing large tracts of land in the vicinity of his estate and selling the parcels or building houses, some of which he sold or rented. The houses outlined in the proposed district map are extant evidence of Carey's transformation of his holdings into subdivided and developed residential parcels. They also contribute significantly to the design quality and character of the area, amid rapidly changing setting in which historic structures are losing their longtime place in Boston. Kenton is a short, narrow, tree-lined cul-de-sac that features a mix of mid to late 19th century architectural styles: Italianate, Greek Revival, Gothic Revival, Folk Victorian, Colonial Revival, and Second Empire. Selected houses on the other streets also reflect this mix. This list of houses within the proposed district are in this slide, along with the map indicating which have Macris property reports. The youngest houses, 4 of 21 in the proposed area, are 120 years old. What follows is a sampling of neighbors' research on houses within the proposed district. Fort Kenton was built for Leonard Holden in 1856. Holden was a partner of Holden, Cutter and Company, importers and wholesale dealers of fancy goods, toys, and fireworks. 35 Kenton was purchased by Mary Cutter from Isaac Carey in 1855. Her husband Benjamin was the business partner of his neighbor across the street, Leonard Holden. Cutter was also a state representative, state senator, and alderman of Boston. Later owners of the house were Bernard and Mary Curley. Research is still to be done on their relationship to Boston's former mayor, James Curley. Isaac Carey built 19 Kenton, which is a pending landmark. It is also a twin of 35 Kenton, but with a different entry porch. You've all read the study report, so I won't describe it further, except to say that this subsequent research indicates that the house is dated much earlier to circa 1843 to 1856, therefore likely the oldest house on the street. 23 Kenton was built in 1865 by carpenter and architect John Wester. Behind the main house is a carriage house, circa 1871. Wester built many properties in Jamaica Plain, the most prominent being St. John's Episcopal Church, completed in 1883. The extant cottage at 9 Shurland Street, to the south of Wester's property, was built by him in 1874. 56 Kenton was built circa 1850 by Isaac Carey, then sold to 3 partners of Samuel G. Boulder and Company, the oldest Boston business engaged in the flour trade. That's baking flour, not, cut flowers. John Simpkins then bought the house in 1856. His son, William Harris Simpkins, served in 1863 as captain of Company K of the new 54th Massachusetts Infantry Regiment, the first African-American regiment raised in the North. A gardener, Michael White, bought 56 Kenton from the Simpkins in 1905. His father, Patrick, who lived with the family, was a gardener for 25 years at Lars and Isabel Anderson's Weld Estate, now Lars Anderson Park. Coppersmith Joseph Dadman had 39 Kenton built around 1875. His firm, Stewart and Dadman, manufactured the copper for the first 2 gunboats ordered by the U.S. government during the Civil War. Samuel Range, who lived at 44 Kenton in the 1950s, was the first African-American member of the Massachusetts State Police, entering the recruit training troop in 1956. It is also believed that he was the first African-American to be admitted into any state police academy in the United States. We are confident that further research on the rest of the houses in the district will generate other fascinating stories. When considering the history of this district, it is critical to understand that it is also the legacy of those Bostonians who were not rich, not famous, and not significant landowners. This grouping of single and multifamily buildings housed and are symbols of the arrival of the middle and working classes in Jamaica Plain and are intact evidence of a country estate owner making way for progress by creating new transportation-oriented development. This area is a key part of Boston's history and deserves to be designated an architectural conservation district. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions or go back to the slides.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm going to ask now if the Landmarks Commission staff has received any written comment from the owners, and the chair recognizes Jennifer Gaugler, Landmarks Commission architectural historian.
Jennifer is not here this evening, so I will be filling in for her.
Thanks.
Yeah. That over. Oops. The BLC, we received a letter from Deidre Rogers and Frederick Carr, the owners of 63 Kenton Road, stating their strong support for the proposed architectural conservation district. We also received a letter of support for the proposed district from the Boston Preservation Alliance. We received one letter of opposition to the proposed district from Mark and Paul Federico, the owners of 19 Kenton Road. These letters have been saved to the hearing folder and have been shared with the commissioners.
Thank you, Liz. And while you have the floor, do you want to comment on staff comments?
Yes, the Boston Landmarks Commission staff recommend accepting the petition for the Kenton Greenwood Architectural Conservation District for further study. It is the opinion of staff that the information provided in the petition documents sufficient information to accept the petition for further study.
And there was a note here just to sort of briefly explain what is an architectural conservation district.
Yep, an architectural conservation district is any area designated by the commission as an area containing any physical features or improvements or both which are historical, social, cultural, architectural, or aesthetic significance to the city and cause such an area to constitute a distinctive section of the city.
Okay. Thank you, Liz. I would, first I'm going to note no public comment is taken at this part of this hearing, but I would like to open the floor to commissioners to ask questions or provide any comments they have on the petition. Any commissioners, any points of discussion? Questions for the applicant?
Brad, this is Selena. I'm just wondering if the open meeting topic that we're going to cover is related to this petition or this study. No. Okay. Because I read the comments and the one in opposition mentioned a procedural issue. I wasn't sure if it was relevant to discuss that at this time.
We have set aside time in executive session to discuss the open meeting law complaint.
All right, I would now entertain a motion to accept the study report, accept the petition for further study.
I'll make that motion. Jeffrey Haney.
Thank you, Jeffrey. And is there a second on that?
I'll second. John Amadeo.
John Amadeo, thank you. And all commissioners present are voting. Commissioner Orlando.
Yes.
Commissioner Baraducci.
Yes.
Commissioner Barrios Milner,
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman,
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward Hyatt,
Yes.
Commissioner Haney,
Yes.
and I vote yes. And I would now invite, I think Liz from Boston Landmarks Commission staff to review the next steps in this matter.
Yes. Now that the commissioners have voted to accept a petition for further study, it is added to the list of petitions requiring the preparation of a study report. The purpose of a study report is to examine the proposed district's architectural, historical significance as it relates to the criteria for designation. The amount of time it takes to complete a study report varies based on available funding and staff and the level of threat to the area. The study report presents guidelines for the review of changes to historic resources in the proposed district. A proposed district also requires the formation of a study committee, which is made up of 6 members of the public who live or have interest in the area of the proposed district and 5 Boston Landmarks commissioners. The study committee reviews the draft study report, makes any edits or additions they feel necessary, including boundaries, and recommends the standards and criteria for the proposed district. Once the study committee deems the study report ready for public feedback, the study report is posted online and public comment is accepted for 60 days. The study report will also be discussed at a public hearing where testimony will be heard by the commission. Following the completion of any amendments that may be needed to the study report, the proposed district will again be discussed at a public hearing at which the commission will vote whether or not to designate a district. If the commission votes to designate, then the approved designation will require the review and approval of the mayor and the city council.
All right, thank you very much, Liz. And that concludes that agenda item, and we move on to consideration of the Anna Harris Smith House at 65 Pleasant Street, where we'll be accepting public feedback on the study report and a vote to accept the study report and a vote to designate. The Boston Landmarks Commission is required to hold a public hearing on all proposed designations following the completion of a study report, which describes the significance of the property and the standards and criteria by which future changes can be evaluated. The study report is made available for public review and comment for at least 3 weeks before the hearing. The purpose of the hearing is to hear the findings of the study report, to hear testimony from interested parties, and to vote on the proposed designation unless the chair decides to extend the vote to a later date so that the commission can acquire more information. I would now ask a member of the Landmarks Commission staff to make a brief presentation summarizing the findings of the study report on this property.
Yeah, happy to do that. On May 22nd, 2007, the Boston Landmarks Commission accepted a petition to study the designation of the Anna Harris Smith House in Dorchester as a landmark under Chapter 772 of the Acts of 1975 as amended. On June 3rd, 2025, the Boston Landmarks Commission posted a study report on the proposed landmark. I will now read a summary from the study report. The Smith House is architecturally significant to the city of Boston as the best preserved example of a 5-bay by 2-bay federal style vernacular house in Dorchester. It was built in 1804 by Samuel Clapp. In 2010 to 2012, substantial preservation work was undertaken at 65 Pleasant Street by masons and students at the North Bennett Street School. Masons stabilized the foundation, rebuilt the chimneys. North Bennett Street School students replaced rotting wall framing, removed wood shingles, repaired clapboards, and installed period-appropriate 12/12 and 9/6 wood sash windows to match existing side elevation windows. They also constructed a replacement federal-style door after a Victorian-era porch was removed from the front facade. The pilastered entry surround was largely rebuilt at that time. The current owner has rebuilt and reshingled the roof and reframed and rebuilt the building's interior into 2 dwelling units. The Anna Harris Smith House is reputed to have been built on the actual foundations of the old Jones House from 1636, although this is yet to be fully confirmed. Over time, it was expanded with several additions, as you can see here on the right. The Anna Harris Smith House is one of the oldest surviving buildings in Dorchester and in Boston. Here you see it on a map from 1831 and in a photograph from the 1860s. Few examples of the 5-bay by 2-bay form remain in Dorchester. Other extant examples are substantially altered. The Smith House is the best preserved of the form. The house is historically significant at the local, state, and regional levels for its association with the locally prominent Clapp family, including Anna Harris Smith, the founder of the Animal Rescue League of Boston. Smith, the granddaughter of Samuel Clapp, who built the house, was born in the house in 1843 and lived there until 1908. Under Smith's leadership, the Animal Rescue League of Boston grew into a widely impactful institution, which became a model for humane societies across the country and which continues today to serve communities throughout Eastern Massachusetts. Therefore, Boston Landmarks Commission staff recommend that the commission designate the Anna Harris Smith House as a landmark under Chapter 772, and further recommends that the boundaries of the designated landmark correspond to Assessor's Parcel 13014999000. The study report contains the standards and criteria that have been prepared to guide future physical changes to the property in order to protect its integrity and character. Brad?
All right, thank you, Liz. And I'm afraid I have to turn it back to you again to ask if we've received any public feedback on this.
We have received a letter from the Massachusetts Historical Commission concurring with the BLAC staff recommendation to designate the property as a Boston landmark.
Okay, at this time, we will move forward with verbal testimony. And first, would any legal counsel representing any participant in this matter please identify yourself for the record? Again, you need to raise your hand in the Zoom meeting platform or press *9 if you're calling in on a phone in order for someone to unmute you. Not seeing any hands raised, I will briefly review how we take testimony on this matter according to our enabling legislation. Testimony is taken in the following order per Boston Landmarks Commission regulations. First, from elected officials. Second, from the Planning Department or the Massachusetts Historical Commission, who have statutory review responsibility. Then from the property owner. Then from those speaking or submitting written testimony at the hearing in support of designation. Then from those speaking or submitting written testimony at the hearing in opposition to designation. Then from those who wish to comment, not necessarily in support or in opposition to designation. And finally, from anyone with questions or rebuttals on the testimony. If you wish to speak when I call your category, please raise your hand in the Zoom platform or press *9 if you're calling in on a phone. Before you start your comment, please state your name and your address and your relationship to the property. Public comment is limited to 5 minutes for the petitioner spokesperson and the owner, and 2 minutes per person for others. Comments should be focused on the validity of the study report and the criteria for designation. We do not take comments about ownership, use, or potential development plans of the property. So I'll start with our first category. Are there any elected officials or their representatives that wish to speak on this? Seeing none, if I skip by you too fast, raise your hand, we'll go back. Anyone from the Boston Planning Department or Massachusetts Historic Commission who have statutory review authority? Anyone representing the property owner? Someone will unmute Stacy.
You should be able to go ahead, Stacy.
Hi, I'm the property owner and I'm in favor. So if you have any questions for me, let me know. That's
We'll
all.
move on to the next category, which is anyone wishing to offer testimony otherwise in support of the designation tonight. Move on to anyone opposed. Anyone wishing to comment, not necessarily in support or opposition. I'll circle back to you in a minute, Commissioner Orlando. Anyone with questions or rebuttals on the testimony we've heard at this point? All right, that gets us through the public categories. And at this time, I would invite commissioners to ask questions or comment on the study report or on the proposed designation. Commissioner Orlando.
I was just wondering, does this property have any other designations outside of Boston Landmarks?
I don't know offhand. It is in the study report. I can tell you in just a couple seconds.
Yeah, I was looking through. I didn't see it, but I also could have missed it. I was honestly just wondering if there's another designation or if it's just great stewardship that took care of the property as well as they have to date. So maybe that's just a question for the owner.
Stacy, do you want to comment on that?
She could be muted.
Okay.
Stacy, can
Hi.
you hear? There we go. Hi.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't able to unmute. I'm sorry. Well, the question was, is there another designation? Not as far as no one's ever told me that there is. I think probably somebody would have told me if there were, but no, not as far as I know.
And I think there was a compliment in there for the care you've taken so far.
I would love to get that, make sure that compliment is recorded for posterity because I have worked very hard. Thank you.
Well, it is nice to see, and also that you've intentionally brought the community into the preservation efforts that you've taken thus far too. So that's great.
Yeah, I get a lot of compliments when I'm working out in the yard. Like I can't be out there for more than 20 minutes without somebody walking by saying that they love the house. They're so glad it's here. They're so glad it's saved. And so, yeah, the neighborhood really enjoys it.
That's wonderful to hear.
Any other commissioners want to add to deliberation before we take this to vote? I'll give you a minute. All right, hearing no further points of discussion, I would accept a motion to accept the study report as written.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Justine. Is there a second?
Second, John Amadeo.
John Amadeo, thank you. And all commissioners present would be voting. So Commissioner Orlando?
Yes.
Commissioner Baraducci?
Yes.
Commissioner Barrios Milner?
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman?
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward Hyatt?
Yes.
Commissioner Haney?
Yes.
And I vote yes. And we'll move right on to a vote to designate. Is there a motion to designate the Anna Harris Smith House as a Boston landmark?
Also move.
John Amadeo, and is there a second?
I'll second it.
David Baraducci, thank you. Commissioner Orlando?
Yes.
Commissioner Baraducci,
Yes.
Commissioner Barrios Milner,
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman,
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward Hyatt,
Yes.
Commissioner Haney,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Liz, I think the next part is for you.
Just, there's another, bit for you, Brad.
This concludes tonight's public testimony. Boston Landmark staff will now review next steps.
The designation passes. So the commission, having voted to designate the landmark this evening, means that staff will create a vote of designation document that will present the details about the property, a list of commissioners' votes on the designation, and the date of the vote by the BLC. This document will be sent to the city clerk, who advances it through the approximately 45-day mayoral and city council approval process. The mayor shall transmit her approval or disapproval to the city council within 15 days. The city council then has 30 days in which to overturn by a 2/3 vote a designation approved by the mayor. Once the designation document is returned to the BLC by the city clerk, it is ready for the final step, recording with the Registry of Deeds.
Thank you, Liz. I see now that was under my purview, but
That's okay. Okay.
All right. That concludes that matter, as you so ably mentioned, and we move on to staff updates.
Yes. The next Boston Landmarks Commission hearing will be Tuesday, July 8th, and it will begin at 6 p.m. Again, please let me know if you'll be unable to attend. We do want to make sure that we get quorum each meeting, because we typically have pretty full agendas. That is all I have for this evening, Chair Walker.
Thank you. And then the next and final item on our agenda, and I will mention again to members of the public, the commission is going to vote to go into executive session and will then adjourn directly out of executive session. So that effectively ends the public portion of tonight's meeting. We will be asking to go into executive session to discuss an open meeting law complaint by the Landmarks Commission on June 12th, 2025. And I need a motion and a second and a vote to go into executive session.
I'll make that motion, Brad.
Thank you, Justine, and a second, please.
Jeffrey Haney seconds.
Thank you, Commissioner Orlando.
Yes.
Commissioner Baraducci.
Yes.
Commissioner Barrios Milner.
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo.
Yes.
Commissioner Ward Hyatt.
Yes.
Commissioner Haney.
Yes.
And I vote yes. So we now enter executive session. Liz, I'm going to turn that over to you.
Just give me one moment.
Can I step out for 30 seconds?
Yes, you may.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
And I think
Anybody
you need
needs to take
you
a
need
break.
to somehow dismiss the other members of the public.
Yep, I'm working on it.
That's what you're doing. All right.
Yep.